Chapter 28. In 7 Apricot City, the night was like water. Jihe had already fallen asleep with a peaceful expression. Ning Fan put on his clothes and pushed the door open to face the moonlight while thinking about Ning Gu, who was 1,000 miles away. There will be a day like that. He stretched his waist with a warm expression. Even the coldness of 7 Apricot City could not drown it. Once the old monster returned to 7 Apricot City, he began his never-ending cauldrons exploding day after day. Ning Fan was happy and leisurely waiting for the old monster to ask him for Dan concoction. Under the moonlight, he sat in the courtyard and organized the many storage pouches on his waist. Among them, some were given by the old monster and some were taken by himself. Magical treasures were not in Ning Fan's eyes. Now that he had obtained the Separation Slayer sword, his future magical treasure would definitely be this item. After all, this item was refined from an immemorial star and could evolve with extraordinary potential. Merit laws were also not in Ning Fan's eyes. He had an immortal emperor's inheritance, so a mere gold core merit law was useless to him. If it was a void fragmentation merit law, then it would be useful. After all, the immortal emperor's inheritance only went up to void fragmentation. There were no higher ranked merit laws. There were a lot of dawn that could be taken later. There were also a few spirit equipments. In the 9 great immortal worlds, spirit equipments were divided into 6 levels: Silver Mysterious, Gold Mysterious, Jade Mysterious, Earth Mysterious, Sky Mysterious, and Spirit Mysterious. Only void fragmentation old monsters could afford mysterious spirit equipments. The fire jade ring that recognized him as its master was a silver mysterious spirit equipment. Among the spoils of war, there were 2 gold mysterious spirit equipments that were comparable to gold core level magical treasures. One was an ancient beast wrist guard and the other was a blue silk ribbon. The ancient beast wrist guard could increase a gold core expert's wrist strength by 30%. Don't underestimate 30%. For a body refinement cultivator, 30% increase in wrist strength was enough for them to fight above their realm. The blue silk ribbon could create a stealth effect similar to an invisibility art, but it did not require magical power. Even the most perfect invisibility art would have flaws and consume magical power. There was bound to be a flow of magical power, so it was often seen through by others. But spirit equipments were different. They did not require magical power and passively added abilities. Ning Fan put on the ancient beast wrist guard and used the ribbon to tie his long hair. Then, he used the spirit power in his immortal vein to brand the 2 equipments with spirit seals to complete the master recognition. It wasn't difficult for Ning Fan to recognize him as his master. After that, Ning Fan felt that his strength had increased by a lot. The strength in his right wrist had increased by 30%. If he were to execute his swordsmanship, his sword chi would probably be much stronger. As for the invisibility effect of the ribbon, Ning Fan's heart moved. A green light flashed and his figure slowly disappeared into the snowstorm. A moment later, rows of strange footprints were left on the snowy ground, as if ghosts were walking. Ah! There's a ghost. A shriek came from outside the wall. It seemed to be little Dugu. Ning Fan removed his invisibility and felt rather speechless. Was it very scary to be invisible? It was as if he had seen a ghost. Moreover, little Dugu herself was a ghost. What's more, ghosts were extremely common in the cultivation world. Even a first-level vein-opening realm cultivator dared to subdue demons and exorcise ghosts. This Dugu is so timid. Could it be that he's afraid of ghosts? Interesting. The corner of Ning Fan's mouth curved into a smile. He walked out of the courtyard with his clothes still on, heading towards the solitary grave of the serene plum tree. Under the plum tree, there was a white-clothed female ghost. Her shoulders were as smooth as a knife, and her hair was like a waterfall. Her slim waist was standing in the cold wind and snow. There was a plum blossom on her temple. Her beautiful eyes were like orchids in an empty valley. Her appearance was cold, causing people to feel pity for her. She stood there like a lonely plum blossom. However, her cold face at this moment had a trace of shame, as if she made a fool of herself in front of little devil Ning. You didn't even say anything when you went invisible. I thought I saw a ghost. Dugu's elegant eyebrows raised and rolled her eyes at Ning Fan's. Her fragrant soul floated back into the grave. I didn't know that a female ghost would be afraid of ghosts. Speaking of which, why did you die here? What is your relationship with Master? Ning Fan stretched his muscles and bones, issuing creaking sounds. Why do I have to tell you? Han Yuanji is not a good person. You are not a good person either. Every night with that little girl, aren't you tired? The noise is so loud that I can't sleep. Dugu's angry voice came from the grave. Did it disturb you? I'm really sorry. I also didn't know that Jiha would be so loud. You're still talking. You are shameless. You don't know shame. You are not a good person, not at all. In the grave, Dugu's voice was a little panicked. She was unmarried and was disturbed by Ning Fan's moaning every day. It was enough to make her heart tremble. Jiha was crying out in pain, but why did she say don't stop sometimes? If it wasn't painful, then why was she crying so miserably? Little Dugu's heart trembled as she firmly believed Ning Fan's identity as a peerless perverted devil. Worthy of being the old monster's disciple. Also a little devil Ning. Hateful, very hateful. Doing that every day, can't you do it further away? So loud and so miserably, don't you know that there is a dead person who needs to sleep? This lady is not married yet. This is so impure. Dugu's heart felt a bit wronged and scolded Ning Fan's as little devil Ning. As for Ning Fan, he was amused by Dugu's angry tone and didn't mind it at all. I am not a good person in the first place. To me, the word good person is a luxury. Then, Ning Fan stopped talking. He no longer bickered with Dugu and sat under the bluestone, staring at the remaining two sword intents on the bluestone. There should have been 3 of them, but the fire transformation sword was accidentally taken away by him. Seeing Ning Fan staring at the sword energy, Dugu was a bit worried. You are not allowed to steal the sword energy. Don't worry, I will not take away this sword energy for the time being. These 2 sword energies are very strong. Without a gold core cultivation, I cannot withstand the second sword energy. Without a nascent soul cultivation, I also cannot withstand the third. When my cultivation is high enough, I will definitely come back and take away this sword energy. Even if your cultivation is high enough, you still can't. If you dare to take away my sword energy, I will fight you to the death. Dugu said with shame and anger. Why can't I take it away? The sword energy is placed here, isn't it for people to comprehend? That's right, but this is related to an important oath. If anyone takes away the sword energy, they will want marry me. These 4 words, Dugu couldn't open her mouth no matter what. It would be strange if a girl could open her mouth. Not everyone's skin was as thick as Ning Fan's and the old monster to talk about sexual matters. Forget it, I won't ask. Since you have your difficulties, I won't take the sword energy. Ning Fan no longer said anything and took out all kinds of dawn from his storage pouch. Primordial Scholar Dan, 10, 1 for 1 harmonious spirit vein. There were 5 bitter spirit pills. 1 pill could create 2 harmonious spirit immortal veins. There were 4 blood tempering pills. 1 pill could create 3 harmonious spirit meridians. Some of these dawn were gifts from the old monster to become a disciple, and some were taken from Elder Heavenly Beast. Ever since he reached the harmonious spirit realm, he had yet to merge his immortal veins. He only merged 1 vein with the fire and ice spirit power to lay the foundation for dual spirit cultivation, nothing more. The first realm of cultivation, vein opening, as the name implied, was to open the meridians in the body. The second realm of cultivation, harmonious spirit, as the name implied, was to open the meridians and integrate the spirit power. Integrating the fire spirit was a fire cultivator, and integrating the water spirit was a water cultivator. Harmonious spirit determined the future direction of cultivation. Of the 5 elements, metal, wood, water, fire, and earth were the easiest to merge, and there were the most 5 spirit cultivators. Thunder, ice, darkness, poison, wind, and other spirit powers were rare and called heavenly spirit power. Normally, only those with great fortune could merge the heavenly spirit power and become a heavenly spirit cultivator. For example, Ning Fan, after having sex under the sky, he merged the ice spirit power. Ordinary cultivators could only merge one spirit power in their meridians, but evil veins and spirit veins could merge many kinds of spirit power. Today, Ning Fan was able to merge the fire and ice spirits, which was considered rare. According to Ning Fan's estimation, if he could merge all 100 immortal veins with the fire and ice spirit power, he would be able to break through and reach the intermediate harmonious spirit realm. Intermediate and early were only one word apart, but the difference in magical power was 2 times. Normally, an intermediate harmonious spirit cultivator killing an early harmonious spirit cultivator was not too difficult. Putting away his thoughts, Ning Fan took out a bottle of dawn, smiled, and swallowed them all. The yin-yang evil vein had a terrifying speed in refining dawn. Ordinary people wanting to refine so many dawn would take at least a few years. As for Ning Fan, his body was enough. After refining 10 mysterious scholar Dan, the spirit veins in his body reached 6. After refining 5 bitter spirit Dan, the spirit veins in his body reached 11. After refining 4 sacrificial blood Dan, the spirit veins in his body reached 17. Just after midnight, Ning Fan had completely refined all the dawn. The refining speed was twice as fast as he expected. And the number of spirit veins was half of what he expected. He pondered for a moment and seemed to understand something. After the yin-yang evil vein reached dual spirit, his speed of refining dawn increased, but the difficulty of harmonious spirit also increased. Dual spirit would require twice the amount of dawn. While he was contemplating, inside the grave, little Dugu's mouth was wide open with a bit of surprise. This little devil Ning's speed of refining dawn is so fast. I once heard father say that only a few immemorial evil veins have this kind of magical speed. I don't know which one this little devil Ning belongs to. Which one he belongs to. What does it have to do with Ning Fan? Naturally didn't know little Dugu's unspoken criticism. He calmed his mind and adjusted his magical power. With a wave of his palm, he took out a small golden fruit that looked like a dragon's eye. Dao fruit. Ning Fan decided to eat the Dao fruit to see how much his cultivation would increase. Seeing the Dao fruit, little girl Dugu was quite surprised. Dao fruit, this is something that can only be obtained by killing gold core old devils. This little devil Ning is only early harmonious spirit, can he kill gold core old devils? Why am I meddling in other people's business? Dugu, you have to remember, this is a big scoundrel. If you provoke him, you will be like little Jiha, being tortured to tears and laughter every night. Thinking about little Jiha's cries throughout the night, little Dugu's hands became cold and her delicate body trembled. She couldn't imagine what kind of suffering little Jiha had to suffer to cry out so miserably. It must be very painful. After Ning Fan calmed his mind, his breath became even and he swallowed the Dao fruit. His immortal veins, under the power of the Dao fruit, quickly reached harmonious spirit. 18 veins, 19 veins, 30 veins. 40 veins, 50 veins, 100 veins. The moment his 100 veins reached harmonious spirit, Ning Fan's aura suddenly rose. The power of an intermediate harmonious spirit caused the wind and snow in the sky to scatter. The sky gradually brightened as he faced the morning sun. He suddenly stood up and breathed in the morning air, feeling refreshed. There were only 2 most comfortable things in this world. The first was dual cultivation, and the second was the comfortable feeling when his cultivation broke through. This is an intermediate harmonious spirit expert, very strong. Compared to last night, my magical power is twice as much. Dao fruit, this is a good thing. He closed his eyes and stood in the snow to calm his surging emotions. The heavenly beast school was destroyed, and his little brother was rescued. From today onwards, no matter if he cultivated the Dao, true, immortal, or evil, he would only pursue the path of the strong, nothing more. On that night, the old devil trampled the school under the moon. This powerful figure was engraved in Ning Fan's heart. Perhaps it would become his lifelong pursuit. Calculating the time, it is about time to go to the sinister Sparrow School. That heartless old devil seemed to have sold me to the sinister Sparrow Schoolmaster as a son-in-law. Ning Fan shook his head. He truly did not have a good impression of Lan Mei, but if she was a bit more obedient, it was not impossible for him to pick up a wife for free. With a wave of his palm, a cold light like starlight flowed in his palm. This sword's name, Separation Slayer, will not be changed. However, this Separation Slayer has too many impurities and is not pure enough. This Si Wuxia's refining level is truly lacking. I will refine it again. In fact, it was not that Si Wuxia's level was low, but Ning Fan's vision was too high. Thinking about Si Wuxia, Ning Fan's expression turned cold as he turned around and walked towards the refining room. In the middle of the snowstorm, Ning Fan trod on the snow. After Ning Fan left, Dugu floated out from the grave. Her beautiful eyes gazed in the direction Ning Fan's left with a faint sense of loss for an unknown reason. Being a good person is a luxury for you, little devil Ning. If you don't cultivate the evil way, how good would it be? Royal Father will surely like you. Chapter 29. There was the primordial era, the creation of the world and the creation of man. In the primordial era, there was iron known as star. There was a god in the void, and the broken bones turned into soldiers. Divine Void had an emperor, undying and everlasting. Only after bowing to the emperor did one realize that his grandson's body had transformed into trillions of lives. His eyes were like the sun and moon, and his breath was like thunder. Shatter the ring and awaken the dream, the myriad realms fall. In the refining room of Si Fan Palace, Ning Fan was sitting cross-legged in front of the metallurgy furnace with the Separation Slayer in his hand. He was recalling an incomplete scripture from ancient chaos memories. The Tao scripture is rumored to be the creation of heaven and man, creation scripture passed down by the immemorial immortal emperor. In ancient chaos fragmented memories, he could only remember such a small part. This short section of the Tao scripture recorded the history of the ancient star system, and one of the lines mentioned the ancient star system. Weapons and magic treasures forged by the primordial star system could only be controlled by fiend gods. Although there were only some star fragments in the Separation Slayer, in terms of value, it was hard to find a second one in the entire Rain world. The only thing that Ning Fan was not satisfied with was Si Wuxia's refining technique. It was too clumsy and had too many impurities, which suppressed the mysteries of the immemorial stars. Ning Fan's eyes were clear and limpid. When he opened and closed his eyes, they revealed the vicissitudes of life. His eyes were like torches, as if he wanted to see through all the flaws of Separation Slayer. The blade of Gingjin, the edge of silver thunder, the body of Kuan steel. This sword was made from a lot of rare immortal ores. With the support of so many immortal ores, its grade had reached the high grade and it could be called a famous sword. However, in the end, it could only be considered a famous sword. It had lost the power of the ancient star system and was not fated to become a godly sword. The impurities must be removed. Apart from gung metal, thunder silver, and earth steel, all the other immortal ores must be extracted. With a flick of his finger, the Separation Slayer sword turned into a cold light and flew into the cauldron. The flame in the cauldron was just an earth vein flame, so it wasn't very strong. It would take at least several months to forge a divine weapon like Separation Slayer. Ning Fan did not have the mood to wait for several months. He snorted and spat out the yin-yang flame from his mouth into the furnace to strengthen the earth fire. With the power of the yin-yang fire, it would take at most 3 days for the Separation Slayer to melt. With Ning Fan's current magical power, he could only maintain the yin-yang flame forging weapon for 4 hours at most before his magical power was depleted. He took out bottles of medicinal pills and placed them in front of him. There were vitality-nurturing pills, spirit-recovering pills, and youth-returning pills. They were all medicinal pills that could recover one's spiritual energy. With this pill, once his magic power was depleted, he could quickly recover it. Time flowed like water. For 3 whole days, Ning Fan's spirit sense never stopped controlling the fire in the cauldron. Finally, the Separation Slayer sword slowly melted into molten iron. A wave of fire rushed out from the cauldron and rushed towards Ning Fan's face. The heat was unbearable and burnt his hair. The melting of the high-grade spirit treasure almost shattered the cauldron. Once the spirit power went out of control, the entire Si Fan palace would be razed to the ground. Ning Fan's eyes froze. He had underestimated the danger of melting the Separation Slayer sword. He had to strip the immortal ores before the spiritual energy went berserk. Patting his storage pouch, Zhang Xian took out the Shadow Pursuit sword without any hesitation. Executing Conjuration Sword, he picked out the immortal ores one by one from the cauldron. Purple Soil Ash, Peel Off the Cold Dragon Jade was stripped off. Vermilion Core Iron Essence, stripped. Tearless Crystal, stripped off. As the immortal ores were stripped away, the grade of the Separation Slayer rapidly dropped from the peak of the middle grade, to the high grade, to the middle grade, to the low grade, to the peak of the middle grade, to the low grade, to the high grade, to the middle grade, to the low grade, to the low grade, to the high grade, to the middle grade, to the low grade. Ning Fan coldly shouted. If he let the Separation Slayer sword drop from a spirit treasure, then all his previous efforts would be in vain. He put away the Shadow Pursuit and bit his fingertip. He poured his blood essence into the cauldron and soaked the body of the sword, protecting the grade of the Separation Slayer sword. Using his blood as a guide, the grade of the Separation Slayer sword remained suspended at the low-grade primary. Seeing this, Ning Fan let out a sigh of relief. He wiped away the sweat on his forehead and slightly smiled. The rest was easy. He took a few dawn and waited for his magic power to be replenished. Ning Fan rolled up his sleeve and reversed the direction of the cauldron. The temperature of the fire suddenly decreased, and the Separation Slayer sword slowly revealed its sword form. After the time it takes for half an incense stick to burn, the sound of a sword came from the cauldron. Ning Fan patted the cauldron's lid and a ray of starlight flew out from the cauldron and circled around Ning Fan's body. The specks of starlight were crystal clear like water, light like cicadas' wings, and cold like an icy rainbow. It was very beautiful. Ning Fan pointed at the starlight and it turned into a 3 feet long sword and fell into his palm. It was still hot from the fire. He opened his mouth and inhaled. The yin-yang flame in the cauldron was withdrawn and extinguished. Ning Fan carefully looked at the Separation Slayer sword and revealed a satisfied expression. At this moment, the Separation Slayer sword, even though it was only a low-grade primary spirit treasure, had regained its ability to advance. Before, when the Separation Slayer sword flew, it was only a cold light without any starlight. The reason was because there were too many impurities that hindered the effectiveness of the immemorial stars. But at this moment, this starlight sword, even though its grade was still low, was like a star. One day, it would become a world-shaking divine weapon that could slay both gods and devils. Ning Fan held the sword and slashed in the air. He cut a wound on his arm and used his blood as a sacrifice to the sword. The blade was dyed with blood, announcing the official rebirth of the Separation Slayer sword. It once again recognized Ning Fan as its master. The moment the sword shadow was released, the entire sky above 7 Apricot City was filled with sword lights. It was clearly daytime, but within 100 miles, one could see the bright starlight. Such a scene shocked countless people, including the 7 Apricot clans, Wu Yi, Mo Fang, Yuqi who was feeding the pigs, Situ who was practicing the sword, and Nangong who was deducing the compass. Countless people came out of the guest house and looked at the sky with endless surprise. The appearance of stars in daytime, the birth of a divine weapon. This rumor was only an ancient legend. Who would have thought that the people of 7 Apricot City would be fortunate enough to witness this scene? The appearance of stars in daytime, the birth of a divine weapon. Could it be that the old monster of the Fong clan created another divine weapon-level magical treasure? How is this possible? I don't think so. Perhaps the spirit augmentation master of the Mo clan has forged a new set of spirit equipment, or perhaps he has added an inconceivable divine ability to a magical treasure. Countless people were speculating about the reason for the appearance of this scene, but it only lasted for 10 breaths of time before disappearing in the sky. No one knew who created a divine weapon. Si-Fan Palace's Dan Master, the old monster, who was at a critical moment in his Dan refinement, suddenly raised his head as if he had sensed something. Little Ning, you've surprised me again. Immemorial divine weapon. You've even refined such an item. If you're able to ascend to the four heavens immortal world in the future, you might be able to compete with countless descendants of the fiend gods and gods. The old monster shook his head and sighed with emotion. While he was distracted, the alchemy cauldron rumbled again. It emitted smoke and exploded. Fourth revolution Dan, your father's fourth revolution Dan, just a bit more and I can refine it. Your father doesn't want to live anymore, I don't want to live anymore. This was the old monster's memorable 61st cauldron explosion outside the refining room. Ning Fan pushed open the door with a starlight sword shadow surrounding his body. A cold murderous aura came from the sword shadow. Within 3 zhang of Ning Fan, all the falling snowflakes were cut in half by the sword energy. Such a sharp sword aura. With just this sword, without using magical power, Ning Fan could kill a 10th level vein opening cultivator with just one sword. And with this sword's transforming sword into fire, Ning Fan believed that no one in the late harmonious spirit realm would be able to block his sword. Unless they were peak harmonious spirit. He opened his mouth and sucked the starlight sword shadow into his stomach, storing it in his dantian and relying on the yin-yang locket. Under the nourishment of the evil vein magical power, Separation Slayer was slowly transforming at an undetectable speed. There were 2 ways to advance an immemorial divine weapon. The first was to use magical power to refine and slowly advance. The second was to use the sword to kill and advance with blood. Putting the sword back into his body, Ning Fan let out a long sigh. He was still not satisfied and decided to use another method to quickly increase the power of Separation Slayer. Spirit Attachment. Add a divine ability to Separation Slayer. Add Body Lock, and when the sword was unleashed, it would make the enemy slow for a moment. Add Shadow Pursuit, and Separation Slayer would have a divine ability to chase after the enemy. Add Swift Wind, and it would increase the speed of Separation Slayer. Spirit Attachment would not affect the advancement of Separation Slayer, on the contrary, it would make the sword even more perfect. But unfortunately, Ning Fan did not know Spirit Attachment. Spirit Attachment was a secondary profession created by the future cultivation world and was not mentioned in the ancient Chaos Grand Emperor's memories. Even though Ning Fan did not know Spirit Attachment, in 7 Apricot City, there was a high-rank Spirit Attachment Master. 7 Apricot City had a total of 7 forces. Among them, the 3 Black Demon armies were in charge of fighting, and the 7 Apricot 4 clans were in charge of logistics. 7 Apricot 4 clans, Wu, Yi, Mo, and Fong, each had their own specialty. Wu clan's ancestor, Wu Lan, was called Lan Ji, and was a Dan rank formation master. Yi clan's ancestor, Yi Huan, was called Huan Yunma, and was a 3 clouds immortal cloud master. Fong clan's ancestor, Fong Nua, was called Fong Bao Nua, and was a Dan treasure rank refiner. In his entire life, he was most proud of his magical treasure, which was at the peak of intermediate rank, and was regarded as a treasure by a gold core old devil. And the last of the 4 clans, Mo clan's ancestor, Mo Rushue, was called Ink Fairy. She was most proficient in refining spirit equipment and attaching spirits to magical treasures. She was a Dan treasure rank spirit attachment master. The old evil Dan shattering cauldron's body fixing divine ability was a rare divine ability, and it was precisely this Mo Rushue's spirit attaching. In the 4 heavens and 9 worlds, spirit attachment masters were much rarer than Dan masters and blacksmiths. Rumor has it that the requirements to become a spirit attachment master were extremely harsh, but no one knew the specifics. Ning Fan slightly smiled. His separation slayer had gotten rid of the impurities, so he could go to the Mo clan and find Mo Rushue to add a divine ability to his separation slayer. If he could do this, his battle power would increase a bit. He returned to his room, and after spending some time with Jiha, he left Si Fan Palace and went straight to the Mo clan in southern 7 Apricot City. At this moment, in the Mo clan of 7 Apricot, hundreds of guards were standing guard outside the door. Not only were there guards from the Mo clan, but there were also guards from the Wu clan, Fong clan, and Yi clan. The 4 clan lords gathered in the Mo clan's main hall, and each of them had a serious expression. Among them was the Mo clan's ancestor, Mo Rushue. She was a woman dressed in black that was over 300 years old, but still had a charming appearance. Her beautiful eyes coldly stared at the 4 people standing proudly in the main hall. Elder Lin, young Lord Lan, revered Bai's son Bai Bai, and revered Hei's disciple Yan Jue Yun Haha, the 4 of you have come to visit my Mo clan of 7 Apricot. Mo Rushue, I won't talk nonsense with you. Today, this Yan's purpose is only for the soul-burning spirit attachment iron. The black-robed young man named Yan Jueyun had a cold expression and looked down on everyone. Chapter 30. In the main hall of the Mo family, Yan Jueyun was playing with a black flying dagger. He looked coldly at the 4 patriarchs and threatened them. This flying knife is called Night Chaser, and it's my natal magic treasure. It's at the beginning of the middle grade, and it's forged from mysterious crystal and northern water. It only requires a single slash to kill someone of the same level. Mo Rushue, I came to 7 Apricot City just to buy your Mo clan spirit augmentation spirit iron, soul burning. I hope you won't disappoint me. Young Master Yen must be joking. The soul-burning spirit iron is a void-grade spirit iron. It is almost a legendary item in the Rain Immortal world. My Mo clan has been a spirit augmentation master for generations, but we have never been fortunate enough to obtain such a divine material. Mo Rushue's beautiful eyes contained a smile. Her expression was full of smiles, but her heart was secretly shocked. I will use 3 bottles of Spirit Ascension pills and 10,000 immortal jade to exchange for this metal. Yan Jueyun said lightly. Hiss. As soon as he finished speaking, the hall of the Mo clan instantly became deathly silent. The rising spirit Dan was required for an intermediate harmonious spirit cultivator to break through to the late harmonious spirit realm. Because one of the ingredients was scarce, it was extremely precious. When a cultivator stepped into the harmonious spirit realm and broke through to the intermediate stage, they needed to have a harmonious spirit immortal vein. When breaking through to the late stage, they needed to have a spirit ascension to increase their spiritual energy. To break through to the peak, he needed to consolidate his spirit and condense his spirit energy into a solid golden core. Once the Dan was formed, it meant that the cultivator had broken through the harmonious spirit realm and stepped into the gold core realm. A rising spirit pill could raise the spirit of an immortal vein. There were about 60 pills in the 3 bottles. With so many pills, it could save at least 60 years of cultivation. It would be a lie if the 4 harmonious spirit family masters said that they were not tempted. As for the 10,000 immortal jades, it was practically the total wealth of the entire clan. However, Mo Rushue gritted her teeth and shook her head coldly. The soul-burning spirit iron did exist, but it did not belong to the Mo family. It was not even owned by the 4 clans. Instead, it was placed in the Mo family by the old devil before his cultivation was crippled. This item was rare and priceless. If it was spread, the entire Rain world would be in an uproar. Only a few people in Sinister Sparrow sect knew about this. Who would have thought that today, the Sinister Sparrow sect would come to ask for it? Mo Rushue let out a faint sigh. This iron belonged to the old devil, how could she dare to touch it? Not to mention, being threatened like this in the 7 Apricot land was a great loss of face. The Mo family does not have such an item. I'm sorry, young Master Yen, please return. She tried her best to smile calmly, but Yen Jueyun could see a trace of wavering in her struggle. The Mo clan indeed had the soul-burning spiritual iron. As long as I can get this item, Yen Jueyun's eyes turned cold. He released his intermediate harmonious spirit magical power. The entire hall was blown by the strong wind. The house was on the verge of collapse. The 4 patriarchs' faces turned pale. Hand over the iron, or else Mo clan will see blood today. Yen Jueyun, you dare to cause trouble in 7 Apricot City. Aren't you afraid of angering City Lord Han? Mo Rushue covered her heaving chest as her beautiful face turned pale. Giving you the Spirit Ascension pill and the Immortal Jade is already giving Master Alchemist Han enough face. He's just a late harmonious spirit cultivator. If it wasn't for his excellent alchemy skills, I might not even give him face. According to the fiendish cultivator's way of doing things, I can just snatch whatever I want. Yen Jueyun's words were arrogant. His master was also one of the 4 demon sovereigns, and he was not on good terms with the old devil. Naturally, he would not show mercy to the old devil. Elder Lin hastily coughed and signaled to Yen Jueyun with his eyes. As for Lan Mei, she bit her lips and hesitated if she should open her mouth to persuade him. Only Bai didn't think that Yen Jueyun's actions were inappropriate. Yen Jueyun's arrogant words caused the 4 patriarchs' expressions to change and their eyes to be filled with anger. If it wasn't for the old devil's strict order that the sinister Sparrow sect was his benefactor, he absolutely could not make a move against the people of Sinister Sparrow sect. With the unyielding nature of the 4 patriarchs, how could they lower their heads to a mere Yen Jueyun? Before the 4 of them could say anything, a light sneer came from outside the hall. Hee, Brother Yen, is it? Well said, well done. Fiendish cultivator's way. As an fiendish cultivator, if you want something, just snatch it, there is no need to show mercy. This voice instantly attracted the gazes of everyone in the hall. White clothes, black cloak, and black hair, a young man with an extraordinary bearing slowly walked into the hall. Mo Rushue and the other 3 patriarchs recognized the young man's identity and all of them had unhappy expressions. This young man was without a doubt the new disciple of the old devil, the 7 Apricot young lord, Ning Fan. The 4 clans didn't know that Ning Fan had broken through to harmonious spirit and didn't know of Ning Fan's impressive achievements. They only thought of Ning Fan as a 5th-level vein-opening junior. They didn't have a good impression of Ning Fan, and when they saw Ning Fan casually walk in and speak up for an outsider, saying that it was right for the other party to snatch something, the 4 patriarchs' expressions sank. This Ning Fan coming to the Mo clan, just who was he helping? Young lord, what do you mean by that? Yi Huan slammed the table and stood up with a slightly accusatory tone. He used his early harmonious spirit pressure to suppress Ning Fan. But that pressure was like a gentle breeze, how could it shake Ning Fan in the slightest? Ning Fan didn't answer Yi Huan's question, but Yi Huan was secretly frightened. Ning Fan could calmly resist his pressure, so he was at least a harmonious spirit expert immediately. Ning Fan stepped on an icy light and turned into an icy rainbow. In the blink of an eye, his figure disappeared without a trace. In the hall, the 7 harmonious spirit experts couldn't see through Ning Fan's light. The 2nd level of the snow-treading art was comparable to a gold core old devil's movement technique. The icy light flashed, and Ning Fan lightly appeared in front of the Mo clan's patriarch. He playfully smiled, everyone, don't worry. With me, Ning Fan, here, no one will dare to cause trouble in Master's City. And in his hand, there was an extra storage pouch. It was originally tied to Yen Jueyun's waist. Inside were 3 bottles of Rising Spirit Dan, 10,000 Immortal Jades, and even Yen Jueyun's prideful natal magical treasure, the night chasing flying dagger. An icy light took away Yan Jueyun's storage pouch. If he wanted to kill Yan Jueyun, it would be just as easy. Young lord, you are. Mo Rushui and the other 3 patriarchs could see that Ning Fan was siding with 7 Apricot. That is this young lord's storage pouch. Humph, return the storage pouch, or else. Yan Jueyun's eyes were filled with dread, and his threatening tone imperceptibly became a lot softer. Or else, what can you do to me? You dared to cause trouble in 7 Apricot, so what's wrong with this young lord stealing your storage pouch? According to the evil cultivator's method, if I like your storage pouch, I can just take it. Even if I want to kill you, I don't need any reason, I can just kill you. Ning Fan's eyes turned cold. His intermediate harmonious spirit magical power was released without reservation, not any weaker than Yan Jueyun. Everyone present, as long as they knew Ning Fan's true strength, had a great change in expression. They knew that a few months ago, when Ning Fan was brought back to 7 Apricot by the old monster, he was only a first-level vein opening cultivation. When he presided over the Dao fruit auction, he was only a 5th-level vein opening. In just a few short months, not only did he break through to harmonious spirit, he even reached intermediate harmonious spirit. This cultivation speed was simply unheard of. Who are you? Yan Jueyun was shocked. Since when did Ning Fan appear among the intermediate harmonious spirit experts in Yu country? As for the white-robed young master Bai Bai, at this moment, his heart was like a raging storm. He once said that he wanted to teach Ning Fan a lesson, but he didn't expect that Ning Fan's true cultivation was far above his. At this moment, even if he had the guts, he wouldn't dare to make a move against Ning Fan. As for Lan Mei, she clenched her fists and found it hard to calm her heart. Can't see through him, she simply couldn't see through Ning Fan, a 17-year-old intermediate harmonious spirit. Even the Rain World's godly king would not have such a cultivation speed. But what she couldn't understand the most was Ning Fan's attitude towards her. Her appearance could be considered peerless, and there were many young masters pursuing her, but Ning Fan didn't even look at her once since he entered the door. Ning Fan, return the storage pouch to Senior Yan, then we will leave 7 Apricot. She bit her lips and lightly said. Why? Ning Fan raised his eyebrows. He really didn't have a good impression of Lan Mei. In the end, you are still a member of my sinister sparrow school, and Senior Yan will soon be promoted to an elder of the school. You should give him some face so that we can meet again in the future. I'm doing this for your own good. Lan Mei herself didn't know what she was saying. Mercy. I didn't slash him with my sword, this is already mercy. Within 3 breaths, get out of the Mo clan, or else, die. The same words came out of Ning Fan's mouth, but the power was thousands of times stronger than Yan Jueyun's. This sentence carried the murderous intent of an immortal emperor, and as Ning Fan's cultivation increased, he destroyed the Heaven Beast School and took the lives of millions. This murderous intent became more and more shocking. Whether it was Elder Lin, Lan Mei, or even the arrogant Yan Jueyun and Bai Bai, they were all trembling under this murderous intent. Even the Sinister Sparrow schoolmaster and the 4 venerables of Sinister Sparrow did not have such murderous intent. Yan Jueyun slowly took a step back and had a feeling of dread. The Ning Fan in front of him was the same as him, intermediate harmonious spirit, but he only needed 1 sword to kill him. Yan Jueyun was arrogant and wild his entire life, but he was not a fool. On the contrary, he believed in his intuition. Brother Ning, this matter was this Yan's recklessness. He cupped his fists and almost immediately turned into a ray of light, rushing out of the Mo clan. He could feel that if he was 1 step slower, his life would no longer belong to him. This Yan Jueyun was a true evil cultivator. He dared to be arrogant and dared to kill, so he would not throw away his life for some meaningless face. Seeing that Yan Jueyun was scared away by Ning Fan's words, Lan Mei and Bai Bai were in disbelief. Yan Jueyun was naturally arrogant. Even in front of the sect elders, he would not give them any face. He even dared to behave atrociously in the old monster's territory, but this madman was scared away by Ning Fan. "You three, are you not going to scram together?" Ning Fan sneered. "Humph." Bai Bai's expression was uncertain. He gritted his teeth and left in a huff. Lan Mei had a complicated expression. Before she came to 7 Apricot City, she was most afraid that Ning Fan would use the title of her fiancé to pester her. But now, she understood that in Ning Fan's eyes, she was nothing. She sighed and turned to leave. Elder Lin, on the other hand, looked at Ning Fan with a profound gaze and shook his head with emotion. "Han Yuanji, you have accepted a good disciple." After Elder Lin left, the originally tense Mo clan's main hall was now filled with a sigh of relief. Everyone present stared at Ning Fan in disbelief. Intermediate harmonious spirit in less than half a year. A murderous intent scared away a harmonious spirit. Rumor has it that this person was not a low-rank Dan master with extraordinary eyesight. From now on, no one in the 7 Apricot 4 clans would refuse to obey Ning Fan. The 7 forces of the 7 Apricot City were faintly grasped in Ning Fan's palm. "Young master, what brings you here today? If there is anything this subordinate can help with, please don't hesitate to tell me." Mo Rushue stood up and gracefully bowed, extremely respectful. "I am here to augment the spirit of the magic treasure. Speaking of which, what is that soul-burning spirit iron?" From Yan Zhuoyin's tone, it seems to be extraordinary. With these words, Mo Rushue's originally respectful smile turned into a bitter one. It was as if the wolf had just left and the tiger had come. Why did this 7 Apricot young master also have designs on the soul-burning spirit iron? He recommended the new book by his good friend, the man in black of the West Sea, Controlling Thunder Punishment. It was quite interesting. Category: Game Otherworld, Book ID, 2955155. The young man obtained the Lightning Punishment ranking and wielded the Lightning Punishment Heavenly Tribulation, causing countless demons to tremble in fear upon hearing his name. He had an old grandpa with him, a little golden man in his sea of consciousness, a lightning punishment roll in his hand, and a cute girl in his arms. Killing an old monster gave him a lot of merit. Lin Yu's thunderous life began just like that. Chapter 31. If they were dissatisfied with Ning Fan before, they were no longer dissatisfied with him at this moment. At the table, Ning Fan had an easygoing smile and a good way of talking, causing the two women, Wu Lan and Mo Rushue, to reveal a strange light in their eyes. However, the two old men, Yi Huan and Fong Noa, were extremely dissatisfied with Ning Fan. Ning Fan's alcohol tolerance was too poor. After 2 cups of wine, he was even staggering while walking. As an evil cultivator, having a poor alcohol tolerance was too shameful. Sure enough, no one was perfect. The moonlight entered the house and the banquet ended. The 3 clan masters all took their leave, leaving only Mo Rushue, who was drinking a cup of wine, and the unconscious Ning Fan, who was lying on the table. Mo Rushue pursed her red lips and suddenly smiled. Everyone is gone. The dignified 7 Apricot young lord is still pretending to be drunk in this subordinate's home. Following Mo Rushue's words, the originally drunk Ning Fan's eyes lit up and he used his magical power to force out the smell of alcohol from his body. He laughed and said, "Sorry for the embarrassment. Ning Fan's alcohol tolerance is too weak. If I don't pretend to be drunk, I'm afraid I won't be able to get down to business. Goddess Mo, now can you tell me about the soul-burning spirit iron? Young lord really wants that soul-burning spirit iron. It is not necessary, I just want to attach a spirit to a magical treasure. If the clan master finds it difficult, I can attach other magical powers." Ning Fan opened his mouth and a starlight flew out, turning into a crystal-clear longsword in his hand. It was Separation Slayer and he handed it over to Mo Rushue. "This is the sword. Goddess Mo, please help me decide what kind of magical power is the most suitable for this sword. Regarding spirit attachment, I don't know anything. Mo Rushui took the separation slayer and did not care at first. She was a Dan treasure-level spirit attachment master after all. Refining mysterious gold spirit equipment was not a difficult matter. She could see with a glance that this sword was only a low-rank initial rank. She was slightly displeased and thought, if the dignified soul-burning spirit iron was attached to a low-rank magical treasure, wouldn't it be burying the name of soul-burning? But after taking the sword, Mo Rushui was first surprised. This sword was so light. It was not that this sword was weightless, but when held in the hand, one could become one with the sword as if it was their own arm, so they naturally did not feel its weight. Unity of man and sword. The person who refined this sword is far superior to me, she sincerely praised it, no longer daring to look down on the separation slayer sword, and carefully sized it up. It was as bright as the stars, as cold as the autumn waters, as thin as a cicada's wings, and as sharp as a flying dragon. This sword was obviously only a low-grade magical treasure, but the feeling it gave Mo Rushui was indescribable with the word shock. Sometimes she frowned, sometimes her red lips were slightly open, sometimes she was happy, sometimes she was confused, sometimes she was surprised. It was as if all the expressions in her life were used on her pretty face. Her beautiful eyes stared at the eye-catching starlight on the sword. The shock in her heart grew stronger and stronger. This is. Young lord, may I ask if you know the origin of this sword? This sword was forged by me. How could I not know about it? Ning Fan picked up his chopsticks and casually ate the leftovers on the table. He did not seem to dislike it at all. He had been poor all his life, and in his most difficult times, he had even fought with pigs and dogs for food, so why would he care about leftovers? What, this sword was forged by the young master? Mo Rushui's beautiful expression changed into one of astonishment. She never would have thought that the refining grandmaster she admired was actually the young lord in front of her. Young lord, do you know that this sword contains a fragment of the immemorial stars? Of course I know. I am my master's disciple and have the immemorial evil vein, so I am able to control this immemorial godly weapon. So young lord knows. It seems like yesterday's stars in daytime was triggered by young lord. An immemorial godly weapon. I didn't think that in this lifetime, I would have the fortune to see one. Young lord truly wants to attach your spirit to this sword. Mo Rushui's expression was somewhat eager to give it a try. To be able to attach their spirit to an immemorial godly weapon, what kind of honor was this for a spirit augmentation master? That's right. What kind of divine ability to attach is up to Fairy Mo's decision. Ning Fan slightly smiled. Giving Mo Rushui the right to decide was a sign of respect for a spirit augmentation master. AI. An immemorial godly weapon, a peerless sword that can advance in rank. From my heart, I am extremely willing to attach the soul-burning divine ability to young lord. The soul-burning divine ability is a void-rank divine ability. It is a good item that only void fragmentation old devils have the qualifications to attach their spirit to. Using it on this sword is absolutely not a waste. With my pill treasure spirit augmentation level, I can only attach one divine ability. If I attach other divine abilities without soul burning, then it would be a bit of a waste. Mo Rushui was talking to herself, as if she was having a hard time choosing. Ning Fan listened with a face full of doubt. His understanding of the spirit augmentation technique was almost non-existent. From Mo Rushui's words, it seemed that a magical treasure could attach several divine abilities, but her level was not high enough, so she could only attach one. From Mo Rushui's words, to attach the spirit to a magical treasure, one needed spirit iron. Ning Fan did not know what spirit iron was, but it did not hinder his understanding. It must be some kind of special immortal ore, and it was indispensable during spirit augmentation. The soul-burning spirit iron was called a void-rank spirit iron, so one could imagine how precious it was. Ning Fan had the immortal emperor's memories, so his eyesight was amazing. He could see that Mo Rushue's expression had a difficult expression, as if she had some difficulties and could not attach the soul-burning divine ability to the separation slayer. If Goddess Mo has difficulties, then don't attach the soul-burning divine ability. Ning Fan shook his head and laughed. He actually did not care much about the spirit augmentation divine ability. Just attaching one was better than nothing. There are some difficulties. Firstly, the soul-burning spiritual iron belongs to City Lord Han. If I may be so bold to ask, young master, do you have the right to use it? Yes, I do. Master and I have a friendship of life and death. If I use a piece of his spirit iron, he will make a big fuss, but he won't really get angry. Ning Fan shook his head with a smile. He could imagine that if the old monster knew that he used his soul-burning spirit iron, he would certainly fly into a rage and shout, "I suffered a loss." But the old monster was only saying it and would not really get angry. The old monster was very generous to him. Is that so? Young Lord and City Lord seemed to get along very well. Mo Rushue gave Ning Fan a meaningful glance. According to what she knew, the old monster had accepted countless disciples, and even though he treated all of them well, he had never treated any of them as well as Ning Fan. It seemed like the two's personalities were very compatible. If Mo Rushue knew that Ning Fan and the old monster worked together to destroy the Heavenly Beast School and were the main culprits that countless old monsters of the Rain Immortal world were looking for, she would not have asked this question. During the battle of the Heavenly Beast School, Ning Fan and the old monster entrusted their lives to each other. Their relationship could be said to be master and disciple, but it could also be said to be friends despite the difference in age. The old monster was very casual, and Ning Fan was also very carefree. Mo Rushue faintly sighed. She sighed because of the old monster's tragic fate. The old monster accepted countless disciples in his life, but each disciple would die a violent death, and the only disciple that did not die became the pain of the old monster's life. Such an old monster accepted Ning Fan as a disciple and regarded him as his own. It was a rare fate for Ning Fan and the old monster. Since young lord has the confidence to use this iron, concubine will not say anything else. Then concubine will recommend young lord to attach the soul-burning divine ability to this sword. But there is still one problem. Oh. What other difficulties do you have? Just say it. Although my knowledge of spirit augmentation is limited, my experience in other aspects is not bad. Perhaps I can help Goddess Mo solve this problem. The other problem is that the soul-burning spirit iron has been contaminated by a strange evil, or the effect of the spirit augmentation will be greatly reduced. I will have to inform young lord about this in advance. Mo Rushue's eyebrows were black and apologetic. As a spirit augmentation master, attaching a flawed divine ability to a guest was a loss of reputation. Oh. The soul-burning spirit iron has been contaminated by the evil ore. Interesting. Goddess Mo, are you willing to take me to take a look at the soul-burning spirit iron? Perhaps I have the confidence to wash this iron clean. If this is the case, then concubine will definitely attach the most perfect divine ability to young lord. Mo Rushue happily stood up with a hint of fanaticism in her beautiful eyes. She didn't have the slightest bit of patience and immediately wanted to take Ning Fan to see the spirit iron despite the dark sky. This made Ning Fan quite speechless. Famous spirit augmentation masters and blacksmiths were all madmen when it came to refining treasures. In the Mo clan's treasure room, Mo Rushue activated an unknown mechanism and a deep tunnel suddenly appeared on the ground. No one knew where it led to. Ning Fan followed Mo Rushue down the tunnel and was probably 1,000 zhang deep underground. In the deepest part, there was a 3 zhang square room made of spirit-breaking silver. This kind of immortal ore was not only hard, but it also had the effect of shielding divine sense. It was extremely precious, but Ning Fan didn't expect it to be made into a secret room by Mo Rushue. Inside the secret room, there was nothing but a jade table at the center. On the table was a half-red and half-black iron ore. The red half carried a slight heat. Ning Fan used his divine sense to sense it, but because he was careless, a trace of his divine sense was burned away by the heat. If Ning Fan didn't withdraw his divine sense in time, he would have been injured. This is the soul-burning spirit iron. I didn't expect it to be able to burn divine sense. If this divine ability was attached to a sword, wouldn't it be able to cut off the enemy's divine sense with a single slash? A void-rank divine ability really can't be underestimated. Ning Fan's gaze once again fell on the black ore. This time, he revealed an extremely puzzled expression. It was familiar yet strange at the same time. He couldn't think of anything for a moment. Mo Rushue respectfully stood at the side and didn't dare to disturb Ning Fan's thoughts. A moment later, Ning Fan approached the jade table and touched the black ore with an uncertain expression. His expression didn't change, but his heart was in turmoil. Chapter 32. Ning Fan touched the slightly hot immortal ore and his heart gradually calmed down. Since he unexpectedly obtained this joyous union iron, he naturally needed to refine the cauldron ring in the future. Unfortunately, he didn't have a cauldron yet. Ning Fan shook his head and gathered his thoughts. The yin-yang flame came out from his finger and entered the immortal ore. It was not easy to separate the two immortal ores when they fused together. All things were born from yin and yang. The yin-yang flame's power was still weak, but with Ning Fan's immortal emperor-level fire control experience, he used the yin-yang black evil flame to calcine the joyous union iron. He used the yin-yang flame's coldness to cool the spirit iron. The joyous union iron slowly melted into molten iron while the spirit iron remained as cold as ever. When the joyous union iron completely melted, Ning Fan flicked his sleeve and took the spirit iron into his hand. At the same time, he waved his palm and activated the ice spirit power in his immortal vein to condense the joyous union iron. He patted his storage pouch and kept the joyous union iron before calmly handing it to Mo Rushue. The whole process didn't take more than half an hour. Ning Fan's fire control technique almost made Mo Rushue dumbfounded. Her sleeves covered half of her face, but her red lips were slightly opened with disbelief. Just by observing Ning Fan's fire control process, Mo Rushue felt that her Tao of refinement had taken a big step forward. Young Lord's talent is extraordinary, this concubine admires it. She took the spirit iron and saw that there was no trace of the evil ore's contamination. Then, I will have to trouble Goddess Mo to help me attach my spirit. The two returned to the ground and went straight to the Mo clan's refinement room. The entire process lasted for a day. Ning Fan watched from start to finish. This was the first time he had a clear understanding of spirit attachment. The so-called spirit attachment was to melt the spirit iron and extract the essence of the divine ability. Then, it would use special formation runes to engrave it on a magical treasure. Even if it was the same type of spirit iron, once the magical treasure was slightly different, the formation runes would be thousands of miles apart. Ning Fan originally wanted to secretly learn the spirit attachment technique from the immortal emperor's memories, but in the end, he had no choice but to give up on this idea. The Tao of spirit attachment was not easier than the Tao of formations. If he wanted to raise his spiritual attachment to the level of ink like water, it would take at least a few decades. Ning Fan didn't have that much time to study the spirit attachment technique. If he needed it, he would go find a spirit augmentation master. When Mo Rushue returned the Separation Slayer sword to Ning Fan, the reluctance in her beautiful eyes made Ning Fan feel that it was a sin for him to take the sword away. "Young lord, you must treat this sword well." Mo Rushue looked at Ning Fan pitifully and pleaded with a soft voice. I will. Ning Fan's eyes fell on the Separation Slayer. Its appearance did not change much. There was still a trace of starlight circling around its body, but there was an additional trace of heat on the edge of the sword. This blazing heat had a trace of soul-burning effect. As the grade of the Separation Slayer increased, its power would increase as well. After slashing a few times in the air, Ning Fan revealed a satisfied smile. He opened his mouth and swallowed the starlight sword shadow into his dantian. Then, he bid farewell and left. The separation slayer's spirit attachment was completed. Ning Fan's first magical treasure since he started cultivating the evil Tao had finally taken shape. Before going to Sinister Sparrow sect, there were only two things left to do. Refining the Jade Royal Dan, as well as refining Si Wuxia into a puppet. The alchemy room was currently occupied by the old monster. Cauldrons exploded again and again, causing Ning Fan to have no place to refine the Jade Royal Dan. Helplessly, he had to first solve Si Wuxia's matter. Currently, Si Wuxia's gold core was shattered by Ning Fan and his cultivation was destroyed. He was imprisoned in the 7-apricot ice prison and was strictly guarded. The guards of the ice prison were evil cultivators from the ice guards. When they saw Ning Fan's arrival, they were all in awe. This was naturally Nangong's order. Subordinate Wang Ling greets young lord. The chief guard of the ice prison was named Wang Ling. He was a 10th level vein opening evil cultivator. During the Dao fruit auction, he was responsible for maintaining the security of the auction house. He had personally witnessed Ning Fan's murderous aura intimidating the group of evil cultivators. His heart was filled with admiration for Ning Fan. I want to go to the 9-layered ice prison to see that person. The 9-layered ice prison was the lowest level of the ice prison. It was used to imprison the most important criminal, Heaven Separation Sect Master Si Wuxia. However, Ning Fan did not reveal this person's name. Besides the old monster and the 3 commanders of the Black Deity Army, no one knew that the person imprisoned in the 9-layered ice prison was the most powerful evil cultivator in Yu country. He, Commander Nangong has ordered that young lord can see this person at any time. However, young lord, you have to take it easy. The 9-layered ice prison is extremely cold. Don't freeze when you are in love. Wang Ling winked at Ning Fan and revealed a smile that only men would understand. This smile made Ning Fan frown. He faintly felt that there was something wrong with Wang Ling's words. He was a transvestite. What kind of love was there between him and Si Wuxia? He shook his head and did not put it in his heart. Ning Fan took the prison key and entered the ice prison alone. He went straight to the 9-layered ice prison and did not let Wang Ling follow. The first layer of the ice prison was used to imprison first-level vein opening cultivators. He went all the way to the 8-layered ice prison, which was already 1,000 zhang underground. Those below harmonious spirits simply could not withstand the cold air in this place. Within the 8-layered ice prison, there were a few empty ice prisons with a few zombies bound by chains. Perhaps they were criminals that had frozen to death here for countless years. The 9th-layered ice prison only had one ice prison. Ning Fan opened the ice door and saw a disheveled criminal bound by ice chains. His head was drooping as if he was unconscious. Si Wuxia, if you knew this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? Ning Fan coldly said. Ning Fan, did you come here to kill me? Do you dare? Si Wuxia didn't raise his head. His feminine voice carried a hint of mockery. Who is your true body in the 4 heavens immortal world? I said it, do you recognize me? You are just an ant from the lower realms. He did not know why, but today, Si Wuxia gave Ning Fan an unusual feeling. In the immortal emperor's memories, there was a puppet technique that could erase the memories and retain the original body's intelligence. This technique could then refine the other party into one's own puppet named the spirit puppet art. Ning Fan slowly approached Si Wuxia. He was ready to use the spirit puppet art to deal with Si Wuxia. However, the closer he got, the more uneasy he felt. He always felt that there was something that he had missed from the beginning. The uneasiness continued. Ning Fan quietly summoned the separation slayer and hid it in his sleeve. Only then did the uneasiness lessen a little. Ning Fan stopped 3 feet away. At this distance, he could feel a vast pressure from Si Wuxia's body. Almost without hesitation, he immediately leaped back. Si Wuxia lightly exclaimed. She didn't expect Ning Fan to be so cautious. She suddenly raised her head and revealed a pure and beautiful face of a woman. Her lips were like rouge and her eyebrows were picturesque. She was like a green lotus that just bloomed, dignified and inviolable. However, her gentle and beautiful eyes carried a fierce murderous intent. A late gold core aura dispersed from Wuxia's body. Her body was locked, but her spirit sense turned into invisible flying swords that pierced Ning Fan's sea of consciousness. Ning Fan's expression slightly changed. If his sea of consciousness was destroyed by the spirit sense flying swords, he would turn into an idiot in the blink of an eye. This Wuxia, such a deep scheming and ruthless method. She actually hid such a trick. He clearly destroyed her gold core and crippled her cultivation, but he didn't expect that she was still hiding her cultivation and even appeared in the body of a woman. What is going on? A woman's appearance, aura, and body were definitely not something that could be faked. Ning Fan's mind raced and in a flash, he thought of the key. He seemed to have realized something and his expression turned cold. With Separation Slayer in his hand, the Starlight Sword danced like a chaotic plum blossom, trying to destroy the spirit sense flying swords. This action was only met with Wuxia's gentle sneer. An immemorial divine weapon, huh? Unfortunately, it is only a low-rank divine weapon. A low-rank divine weapon simply cannot cut my spirit sense. Impossible. Before she could finish speaking, she suddenly let out a scream. Her divine sense was caught off guard and was cut by the Separation Slayer. Her divine sense was also burned by the soul-burning power of the Separation Slayer. Her gentle and beautiful face suddenly turned pale and her aura weakened. She looked at Ning Fan with a horrified expression. Soul-burning divine ability, void-rank divine ability. Impossible. With your harmonious spirit status, how could you obtain this kind of divine material? She gritted her teeth and tried to use other divine abilities to deal with Ning Fan, but it was too late. Ning Fan wouldn't give her a second chance to sneak attack. Never. Ning Fan's feet stepped on the icy rainbow. He took a step forward and pointed at Wuxia with a single finger. The plucking finger force seeped into Wuxia's body. Wuxia's chi was in a mess. He could no longer mobilize his magical power, let alone sneak attack Ning Fan's. I didn't expect that the dignified Wuxia sect master Wuxia was actually a woman. She used the ancient devil technique, reverse Yang's secret art, to disguise herself as a man and almost fooled me. The reverse Yang's secret art can create a fake gold core in the body and transform into a man's body to confuse me. No wonder you still have magical power even after I crushed your gold core. Wuxia, I really underestimated you. Ning Fan hissed. He tore Wuxia's sleeves and really revealed a woman's lotus arm. How is this a man, how is this a transvestite? Wuxia was so ashamed that she wanted to die. Her face was like a peach with blood dripping from it. She kneeled on the ground with a cold murderous intent in her beautiful eyes. You dare to insult me? Do you know the origin of my true body above the four heavens? What is this finger power? She had not finished speaking when the plucking fingers effect became more and more apparent. Her whole body became numb and she gradually lost her Mindy and the Jade Lake Saintess. If you hurt me, I will send 100,000 heavenly soldiers to exterminate your entire clan. That dignified Wuxia, at this moment, no longer had the slightest bit of arrogance. Under the plucking finger, all of her killing intent turned into fear towards Ning Fan, leaving only fear in her heart. What do you want to do to me? This is what kind of bewitching technique is this? I am the Jade Lake Saintess. So what if you are the Jade Lake Saintess? Since we have enmity, we are enemies. This has nothing to do with whether you are a man or a woman or what your identity is. Ning Fan pinched Wuxia's chin with a cold smile, but his heart flashed with a trace of sorrow. Jade Lake Saintess above the four heavens, perhaps she was a woman revered by tens of thousands of people, but her clone in the lower realm turned out to be a devil that harmed him and his little brother Ninggu. She used this innocent face to deceive the eyes and ears of many people, making them think that she was a kind woman, but her heart was clearly like a snake. The four heavens immortal world was not a pure land, or perhaps, there was no pure land under the heavens. Even if you are the Jade Lake Saintess, I will still take revenge. Wuxia was afraid. She discovered that the man in front of her was extremely daring. He was not afraid of the ruthless people of the four heavens immortal world and dared to bully her. Her heart was filled with resentment and fear. Let me go. I have never harmed you nor your little brother. I still have things to do in the lower realms. See Wuxia's pitiful eyes. Ning Fan did not know how real or fake it was. Don't worry, I have no interest in your body and will never touch you. Compared to obtaining your body, I am more willing to have a gold core helper. I'm only going to refine you into a gold core spirit puppet. A finger pointed at Wuxia's head, searching her soul and memory, refining her puppet. Half a day later, Ning Fan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. The woman who stood quietly in front of him had bright eyes that were full of innocence, but they carried the magical power of a late gold core expert. She looked at Ning Fan in confusion. On her glabella, there was a plum blossom imprint. That imprint was the imprint of the spirit puppet art. Who are you? Who am I? The woman smiled faintly like a blooming green lotus, looking at Ning Fan with infatuation. You are Cici. From today onwards, you will be my first cauldron. Cauldron. Cici wants to be your wife. The woman's eyes were pleading. She had forgotten everything except for Ning Fan. She instinctively relied on and obeyed Ning Fan. That obedience came from the imprint on her body. No, you have made a mistake, so you can only be a cauldron. Change your clothes and go out with me. When I refine the cauldron ring in the future, it will be your new home. The clone of the dignified Jade Lake Saintess in the lower realm had become Ning Fan's first cauldron. Chapter 33. When the ice prison guards saw their young lord bringing a beautiful woman out of the prison, they were all shocked. This woman was undoubtedly released by Ning Fan from the ice prison, so they didn't ask much. These guards only felt strange that there was such a pure and holy woman in the ice prison. Along the way, all the evil cultivators that Ning Fan met turned around to look at Wuxia and swallowed their saliva, but they didn't dare to have any thoughts about this woman. This woman following behind Ning Fan was undoubtedly the woman of the 7 apricot young lord. Did she not want to live after offending Ning Fan? Ning Fan went to the southern market square and bought all the supplementary ingredients for the Jade Royal Dan. Whenever he passed by a jewelry store, Wuxia's beautiful eyes would flicker and she would pull Ning Fan's sleeve to beg. Cici wants this hairpin, Cici wants this bracelet, Cici wants... No matter how much Wuxia begged, Ning Fan only coldly said one sentence. This woman had a blood feud with him, but as a cauldron, she wouldn't receive Ning Fan's love. Ning Fan did buy some beautiful jewelry, but unfortunately, they were all for Jiha. Jiha, the girl who saved him from the abyss when he was on the verge of death. Master doesn't love Cici. Cici is not happy. Wuxia pouted her small mouth. When the passers-by saw this, they all looked at Ning Fan with strange eyes. Such a beautiful concubine, yet he didn't love her. Ning Fan was truly a fickle person. However, if these passers-by knew that the person acting like a little girl was the #1 evil cultivator of you, the Heaven Separation Sect Master, Wuxia, how would they feel? Unfortunately, no one would know Wuxia's identity because no one knew that Wuxia was a woman. Great bending grass, vein life flower, red fern. I have bought all the ingredients for the Jade Royal Dan. Ning Fan walked out of the last shop and was about to return to the Fan Palace. He silently looked up at the direction of the Fan Palace with disbelief. He saw that in the sky above the Fan Palace, there were 7 ice clouds, but a moment later, there were 7 fire clouds. The fire and ice clouds blended together, turning into 7 colored clouds that formed a vast spirit vortex. Not only Ning Fan, but countless evil cultivators also looked up at the direction of the Fan Palace with shock. Clouds appearing in the sky and a vortex of spiritual energy. This is the formation of a 4th revolution Dan. In Si Fan Palace, there was only the old monster who was concocting dawn. It was conceivable that the old monster would be the one who concocted a fourth revolution Dan. Countless demonic cultivators were overjoyed at this moment. The old devil was their master. Since the old devil was able to refine a fourth revolution Dan, it undoubtedly meant that his level of medicine refinement had already entered the fourth revolution realm. Fourth revolution alchemist. One of the few alchemy grandmasters in the state of Yu. Even a nascent soul stage expert would have to treat him as a guest of honor and not dare to offend him. When the old monster became a fourth revolution Dan master, the status of 7 Apricot City would rise. Even the powerful sects of other countries would not dare to offend them. Congratulations City Lord for advancing to the fourth revolution pill refinement realm. Countless demonic cultivators bowed at the same time toward Si Fan. The old monster's charisma was so great. In the sky, the commanders of the three guards, Nangong, Situ, and Yuchi, and the clan masters of the four clans, Wu Lan, Yi Huan, Fong Noa, and Mo Rushue, were all flying in the sky toward Si Fan Palace. A third revolution Dan master, this identity was enough for the old monster to walk unhindered in the Yu country, and a fourth revolution Dan master. The day of 7 Apricot City's revitalization had arrived. And when Ning Fan saw this scene, he soared up and went straight toward Si Fan Palace with Si Wuxia. 7 Young Mysterious Dan, Master really refined it. Even with my immortal Emperor's memories, I could only refine a fourth revolution Dan. Master relied on his own talent to rise from a third revolution Dan master to a fourth revolution master is truly a heavenly genius. I am not as good as. Ning Fan slightly smiled. The old monster relying on himself to refine a fourth revolution Dan was the best. With the 7 Young Mysterious Dan, the old monster would be able to cure the absolute poison and restore his cultivation. I wonder what cultivation master will be able to restore. Ning Fan had already guessed that the old monster's previous self was a great character in the 9 worlds. Today, the old monster's cultivation was restored, and countless mysteries would be solved. An icy rainbow and an azure light, Ning Fan and Si Wuxia stood in the sky and politely greeted the 7 harmonious spirit experts. The 4 clan heads didn't know the identity of Si Wuxia behind Ning Fan and only thought of him as a harmonious spirit expert, but even so, they were still very surprised. When did the young lord take in a harmonious spirit concubine? Truly incredible. Situ and Yuchi could faintly see that Si Wuxia was not ordinary, but they couldn't guess the identity of this woman. Only Nangong, who had received the report from the ice prison ice guards, knew that Ning Fan took away a woman from the ice prison. He vaguely guessed the identity of this woman and was startled. Young lord, this is. Nangong pointed at Si Wuxia with a shocked expression. The woman in front of him had a somewhat similar appearance to Si Wuxia. And this woman's cultivation was even more unfathomable, at least gold core. With Nangong's intermediate harmonious spirit cultivation, he couldn't see any clues. Could this woman be the heavenly beast schoolmaster that Ning Fan captured before? Nangong found it hard to imagine what method Ning Fan used to subdue a peerless devil like Si Wuxia. And this Si Wuxia seemed to be a woman. Let's talk about this later. Right now, protecting Master is more important. When a fourth revolution Dan is formed, not only will there be a strange phenomenon, but it will also trigger the heavenly tribulation. You guys carefully block the tribulation for Master, I will be back soon. Cece, you stay here and help. Yes, Master. Si Wuxia obediently nodded. The heavenly tribulation of a fourth revolution Dan was extremely powerful. Only nascent soul experts could withstand it. If they couldn't block the heavenly tribulation, then the entire Si Fan Palace would be destroyed. Ning Fan returned to the room with an icy light and saw little Jiha changing her clothes, causing her to scream with a blushing face. Ning Fan didn't say anything and helped Jiha put on her clothes. He then broke the door and hurriedly flew up to the sky. He then took out a hairpin that he just bought and put it on her head. "Brother Fan, what are you doing?" Jiha hastily asked. Countless four-colored heavenly lightning struck down from the sky. The loud thunder was deafening, causing little Jiha to cover her ears in fear. "The heavenly tribulation is coming." In a flash, nearly 10,000 evil cultivators in 7 Apricot City let out an extremely frightened voice. Each of the four-colored heavenly lightning had the aura to easily kill a gold core cultivator. Under this aura, the 7 harmonious spirit cultivators, including Nangong, couldn't resist even the slightest bit. At this moment it was the crucial moment for the old devil to form his Dan, so he couldn't be distracted. Someone had to block the heavenly tribulation. "Cece, you go, crush this heavenly lightning," Ning Fan lightly ordered. "Yes, master." Si Wuxia's beautiful figure flashed, and with light steps, she went straight towards the heavenly lightning. This scene made the 4 clan masters puzzled. In their eyes, Ning Fan wasn't a heartless person, so why would he let a girl die? Even a gold core old devil might not be able to withstand this heavenly lightning, but in the next moment, the 4 clan masters were all shocked. They saw Si Wuxia's white hands forming a seal, and a 7-colored purple mist turned into a rainbow sleeve. The long sleeve danced in the wind, like a fairy. The long sleeve moved, and the beauty moved. The heavenly lightning was actually swept away by Si Wuxia's sleeve. And her calm and elegant appearance was even more holy and pure. In the past, there was the heavenly palace of Zhaoga and night strings, and above, there was the dance of sleeves that could topple a country. Not only were the 4 clan masters dumbfounded, but even the commander of the 3 guards, who knew Si Wuxia's background, was so shocked that he couldn't close his mouth. This dance of sleeves magical technique, the rainbow light, could even put up a fight against a nascent soul cultivator. And the heavenly lightning that frightened all the evil cultivators in the city was stopped by Si Wuxia's dance of sleeves. Following the destruction of the heavenly tribulation, a wave of spiritual power that seemed to be real reverberated in the old monster's Dan refinement room. And with the release of a strange fragrance, the spiritual power reversed like a violent wind. Then, an overbearing and arrogant laughter came from the Dan refinement room, echoing within 100 miles of 7 Apricot City. "Done. Ha ha ha. Your father has refined a 4th revolution Dan, I, Han Yuanji, am back." A black rainbow light broke out of the room and went straight to the sky. It was the old monster. In his palm, there was a 7-colored Dan that emitted a pill fragrance. It was the 7-yin-yang mysterious Dan. "Little Ning, thanks. Without you, there wouldn't be me, Han Yuanji. Today, once your father's cultivation is restored, no one in the 9 worlds will dare to do anything to you." The old monster solemnly looked at Ning Fan's, then he immediately swallowed the 7-yin-yang mysterious Dan. And a yin and yang fusion aura came out from the old monster's body. The absolute yin poison instantly melted. His magical power rapidly rose. His aura was already shocking. Peak harmonious spirit, gold core. Early gold core, intermediate, late, peak, nascent soul. Early nascent soul, intermediate, late, peak, spirit severing. His cultivation recovered to the spirit severing realm, but the old monster's aura still didn't stop rising. He faced the sky and laughed as his aura rose. Early spirit severing, intermediate, late, void refinement. Early void refinement, intermediate, late, peak, void fragmentation. An aura that shocked the rain world flowed out from the old monster's body. When he returned to the void fragmentation realm, a black and white ring that stretched for 100 miles appeared in the sky. The first ring of the heavenly Tao. Only when one reached the peak of the 7 realms of cultivation would this ring appear. Once this ring was broken, one would be able to step into the 4 realms of cultivation. The old monster's smile didn't diminish as his aura continued to rise. The void fragmentation realm was divided into 9 levels. Each level was as different as heaven and earth. Void fragmentation first level, second level, ninth level, peak. As long as the old monster destroyed the heavenly ring with one palm strike, he would be able to break through the 7 realms of cultivation and become an immortal. At this critical moment, there was no room for interference. A slight mistake would result in failure in the recovery of his cultivation. Ning Fan was shocked, but Nangong and the others didn't know the details of the old monster and the details of the void fragmentation realm. Obviously, they didn't know the old monster's current cultivation. They looked at the old monster with reverence like mortals. Ning Fan, on the other hand, was looking at the black and white heavenly ring in the sky with reverence. This is the heavenly Tao. Once the heavenly Tao is broken, one can become an immortal. He was shocked. So, his master was originally an immortal existence. No wonder even the Rain God Emperor had to respectfully salute the old monster. The old monster's recovery was a good thing for Ning Fan's, a joyous occasion. Ning Fan didn't expect to get any benefits from the old monster. He simply hoped that the old monster could heal his injuries. He lightly breathed out and looked at the sky with a smile on his face. The old monster's recovery was a matter of course. He only needed one last step to shatter the heavenly Tao and become an immortal. But at this moment, an unexpected change occurred. The sky within 100 li was suddenly covered by an evil energy that covered the sky. 1,000 feet tall ice mountain in the distance suddenly shattered into powder. Then, 1,000-foot tall white bone gate appeared. The appearance of the giant gate was without any warning. The gate opened and a ghostly white bone claw reached out from the gate. The claw grabbed the first ring of the heavenly Tao and crushed the heavenly Tao. The old monster, who was about to break the ring and become an immortal, was about to completely recover his cultivation when his aura suddenly dropped. He spurted out a mouthful of blood and fell from the sky like a falling kite. His cultivation fell straight down. Void refinement, spirit severing, nascent soul, gold core, harmonious spirit, and finally, it fell to vein opening. Then, the giant claw pointed at the old monster's meridians and shattered them inch by inch. Void fragmentation. The owner of the white bone claw was actually a void fragmentation old monster. And when the old monster was about to recover his cultivation, he suddenly made a move and destroyed the old monster's cultivation and hope. What kind of deep hatred did this person have for the old monster? The old monster fell to the ground, creating a 100 zhang deep ice pit. He kept coughing out blood as he looked at the giant white bone gate and the giant white bone claw with an expression of grief and indignation. Why? Why did you betray your master? You don't need to know why. Han Yuanji, if you were content with your current situation, I wouldn't mind sparing your dog life, but you had the delusion of recovering your cultivation. Today, this emperor will no longer let you live. Die. The giant white bone claw pointed at the old monster with a power that could crush everything. Once it reached the old monster would die for sure. Great joy and great sorrow, the 10,000 evil cultivators in 7 Apricot City became frightened puppets. No one knew that the old monster was such a ruthless person. No one knew that the old monster had an even more ruthless enemy that had been plotting against the old monster. And Ning Fan's eyes suddenly turned blood red. He held the separation slayer in his hand and rushed towards the giant finger. The memories of the short half a year he spent with the old monster emerged in his mind. He absolutely could not watch the old monster die, absolutely not. So what if it was a void fragmentation old monster? Could he hurt his master? You deserve to die. Ning Fan's murderous intent was shocking. His mind unexpectedly resonated with the long-forgotten scabbard in his storage pouch. The moment the giant white bone gate appeared and destroyed the old monster's cultivation, in a hidden void of the Rain Immortal world, inside a godly palace, the Rain Godly King suddenly stood up with disbelief. The godly king of the evil world, Wuxia Emperor, why did this person violate the pact of the 9 worlds and appear in the Rain Immortal world? Could it be that he wants to start a war with the Rain Immortal world? Thinking of the monstrous evil name of Wuxia Emperor, even the Rain World Godly King felt a bit of dread. Chapter 34. The recovery of the old monster's cultivation was supposed to be a joyous occasion, but the appearance of this person turned the joyous occasion into great sorrow. Inside the white bone door, an evil aura swept across the area. 10,000 evil cultivators in 7 Apricot City prostrated on the ground, unconscious. The 3 guards, 4 families, and 7 harmonious spirit cultivators were also affected by the aura. Their souls trembled as they fell from the sky and fainted. Jiha and Si Wuxia were unconscious. There were only 2 people in 7 Apricot City who could withstand this evil aura. One was the dying old monster and the other was Ning Fan. Ning Fan's eyes were brewing the murderous aura of ancient chaos great emperors. Even the peak void fragmentation aura of Moksha Emperor could not subdue him. He stared at the white bone finger. Before his mind could think, his body had already rushed out. He rushed in front of the old monster, rushing towards the sky to meet the white bone finger. If he didn't save the old monster would die for sure. Not because of gratitude, but because he didn't want to see the old monster die. Is this the void fragmentation realm? Ning Fan's mind trembled. He couldn't take it. This finger stretched for 100 li. If Moksha Emperor willed it, he could easily flatten the entire Yu country. This was the power of an invincible void fragmentation expert. Under this vast magical power, Ning Fan was as small as an ant. All his struggles were like a mantis trying to stop a chariot. Not to mention Ning Fan, there were hundreds of millions of cultivators in the Rain Immortal world, but only a few could withstand this finger. His thoughts turned quickly, and the only thing he could think of was an ancient scabbard. None of his methods could match a void fragmentation opponent. Only this scabbard had a sliver of hope. Holding the scabbard, Ning Fan's eyes revealed a decisive look. This scabbard was obtained from the Dao fruit auction. It contained a unique female sword aura. Ning Fan didn't know what level of sword aura it was. He decided to crush the scabbard and use his body as a guide to draw out the sword aura. Perhaps it could block the white bone finger. He was not sure if this method would be effective, but it was worth a try. In his heart, there was no fear. Failure was much better than bowing down and accepting death. Oh. A mere harmonious spirit dares to block my void fragmentation finger. Overestimating yourself. A sneer of disdain came from the giant door. The voice was as vast as thunder. As for Ning Fan, it was as if he didn't hear the sarcasm as he immersed himself in the scabbard. His mind and spirit gradually harmonized. He channeled his magical power and crushed the scabbard. A wave of sword chi that was like a sigh of a woman attached itself to his body. In just an instant, Ning Fan felt as if he had suffered a heavy blow to his chest. All of his ribs were broken and the bones in his arms were crushed. He nearly coughed out blood and fell into the clouds. The sword chi dissipated. His skin and flesh were lacerated. There was not a single part of his body that was unharmed. Bathed in blood, he stood on the clouds. His meridians were nearly ruptured, and the pain penetrated his soul. However, a void fragmentation realm sword intent emerged in his eyes. At this moment, even the demon world godly king inside the giant door was slightly startled. He didn't expect that Ning Fan could produce a void fragmentation sword chi with his harmonious spirit cultivation. However, at the next moment, Moksha Sovereign regained his indifferent expression. He could tell that the sword chi was not Ning Fan's. It was just forcefully received by Ning Fan through the destruction scabbard with his body as a guide. Hence, it only had the power to launch a single attack. To be able to withstand a void fragmentation sword chi with a harmonious spirit body, this emperor is truly surprised. Unfortunately, with the help of external objects, you are still an ant in my eyes. You can't save Han Yuanji. In any case, this emperor's white bone finger is evolved from the white bone flame. The white bone flame was one of the 12 earth vein demonic flames. The flame was white and condensed into the shape of a white skeleton. Moksha sovereign was extremely conceited about his finger. He firmly believed that even a true void fragmentation old monster wouldn't be able to withstand his finger. Ning Fan was completely unaware of all of this. His heart was completely immersed in the sword chi of the scabbard. The moment Ning Fan crushed the scabbard, a lonely female voice resounded between heaven and earth. The voice was incomplete, as if it was left behind from a battle that happened countless years ago. The gods and devils of heaven and earth are all ants. If I break my sword, there will be no martial arts in this world. It was just a short sentence, but the image of the female slaying the gods and devils with a single sword was vivid. The moment the voice resounded, the scabbard shattered. In the vault of heaven and earth, the momentum of the entire heaven and earth turned into the might of the sword. The demonic might that blotted out the sky collapsed under the sword intent. At this moment, the godly sovereign of the devil world couldn't stay calm for the first time. What is this sword chi? It has been separated by countless years and is about to dissipate, but it still has this kind of power. If the owner of this sword chi was still alive, this emperor definitely wouldn't be able to withstand the might of his sword. A mere harmonious spirit ant actually has such a terrifying sword chi. This truly surprises this emperor. However, this is as far as you can go. The sword of heaven and earth collided with the white bone finger, turning the white bone into powder. The giant white bone finger was originally formed from flames, but it was destroyed by Ning Fan's sword, turning into a white rain of fire. After one strike, the mysterious female's sword chi disappeared without a trace. Ning Fan staggered back a few hundred steps in the air before stabilizing his body and half-kneeling on the clouds. That scabbard was used by the godly Void Pavilion Master to test Ning Fan. It had a great origin and contained an astonishing sword chi that was enough to block a strike from a void fragmentation expert. However, Ning Fan couldn't find a second scabbard nor borrow a second sword chi. With a harmonious spirit cultivation and a heavy injury, he used the mysterious scabbard to block a void fragmentation attack, but Ning Fan didn't feel the slightest bit happy. How could he block the next strike? Inside the giant door, a 10,000 zhang tall black armored giant stepped out. He pointed at the sky full of fire, causing the white bone flame to explode and the wind to roll back towards Ning Fan. This giant was the dignified godly emperor of the evil world, Moksha Emperor. His body was 10,000 zhang tall with a dark golden body. His eyes were like the sun and moon, and his grinning smile could shatter the heavy clouds. The moment he appeared, the entire sky shattered into countless cracks, the earth trembled, and even 7 Apricot City was shaking. Under his finger, the white bone flame instantly turned into a sea of fire, submerging Ning Fan. Before Ning Fan was submerged by the white bone flame, he saw the appearance of the giant with only shock in his heart. Giant. This giant alone was as big as a city. This person was the enemy of the old monster. A void fragmentation old monster. One day, he would be able to kill a void fragmentation expert, but not today. The current him didn't even have the qualifications to tremble in front of the giant Moksha Emperor. Being submerged by the white bone flame, Ning Fan activated the yin-yang locket, trying to devour the fire. Unfortunately, the white bone flame was controlled by Moksha Emperor's magical power, so how could it be devoured by others? Moreover, there were 100,000 spirit sense imprints in the flame. If the imprints were not removed, the flame could not be seized. The white bone flame and black demon flame belonged to the 12 earth vein demonic flames. The reason why Ning Fan could devour the black demon flame with the yin-yang locket was because the old monster's cultivation was crippled. Under the control of a void fragmentation old monster, the white bone flame was hard to devour. Ning Fan could only rely on the yin-yang locket to protect himself from dying in the fire. Ning Fan held the separation slayer in his hand and activated the soul burning technique with cold eyes. Being trapped in a sea of fire and not dying, Ning Fan didn't know that this had shocked Moksha Emperor once again. This brat is strange. This emperor controls the white bone flame. No one under the void fragmentation realm can withstand it for more than half a minute. Being blocked by a harmonious spirit junior, Moksha Emperor had already lost a lot of face from his point of view. Today, he used the realm-traversing gate to descend into the Rain Immortal world to eliminate the old monster, but he didn't expect a harmonious spirit junior to delay his attack. The black-armored giant raised his head and looked at the horizon. Hundreds of thousands of li away, there were a few tyrannical auras coming from the void. It seemed like the void fragmentation experts of the Rain Immortal world had come to deal with him. After all, he was the godly emperor of the demon world, the #1 enemy of the Rain Immortal world. He was afraid that many people were looking forward to killing him. Humph, forget it, Han Yuanji's meridians are already crippled, it doesn't matter whether I kill him or not. I have done this much, that person should be satisfied. If it wasn't for the promise of the White Devil sect in the Four Heavens Immortal world, I wouldn't have killed my master. When mentioning that person, the dignified Moksha Emperor seemed to be afraid. The experts of the Rain Immortal world were getting closer and closer. He knew that he couldn't stay in the Rain Immortal world any longer. Brat, 100 years later, when the ruins of the ancient heavenly court opens, I will descend into the Rain Immortal world again. At that time, it will be the time of your death. Stepping back into the white bone gate, the black-armored giant smiled and wanted to retrieve the white bone flame to leave, but the white bone flame didn't listen to his command and couldn't be retrieved. You have injured my master and you want to leave peacefully? Ning Fan's cold voice came from the sea of flame. The old monster was injured and it was unknown whether he was dead or alive. He couldn't defeat the godly emperor of the demon world, but he could at least take away his devil flame. In short, he must not let the old monster leave unscathed. Under the continuous slash of Separation Slayer and the soul-burning divine technique, the spirit sense imprint that Moksha Emperor planted in the white bone flame was erased as if it was being burned. The giant's face revealed a shocked expression because he discovered that the 100,000 spirit sense imprints that he planted in the white bone devil flame that he had refined for 1,000 years were being erased rapidly. Brat, how dare you take away my natal devil flame? The giant let out a thunderous roar. Chapter 35. Once the natal demonic flame that he had cultivated for 1,000 years was snatched away, it would not be as simple as a drop in his cultivation. It was even possible that he would suffer a severe backlash. According to Moksha Emperor's personality, he would have immediately retracted the white bone flame after his spell was broken, just in case. However, he had underestimated Ning Fan too much. In Moksha Sovereign's memory, not even nascent soul realm or spirit-severing realm old monsters could seize the devil flame that had been refined for 1,000 years. If it wasn't for Moksha Sovereign's contempt, if it wasn't for the Yin-Yang Locket's heaven-defying ability to devour fire, if it wasn't for the Separation Slayer's soul-burning ability, Ning Fan would have absolutely no chance of seizing the white bone flame. Moksha Sovereign's Dharma form, the black-armored giant, bellowed furiously like thunder. With a punch, the mountains collapsed and the earth cracked. Half of the ice palaces in 7 Apricot City collapsed under the force of the punch. Countless cracks appeared in the void. This punch seemed to be the strongest attack of Moksha Sovereign's entire life. If this fist landed, not to mention 7 Apricot City, even the state of Yu and several neighboring countries, hundreds of thousands of li of land would be annihilated and turned into ashes. When fiend gods were enraged, they could seize the fate of the heavens, seize the fate of the earth, and shatter yin and yang. Invincible. On the contrary, Ning Fan's eyes no longer had a trace of nervousness because he knew that he was going to die. His mind was blank and he was on the verge of fainting. He had seized Moksha Emperor's natal devil fire. In his dantian, the Yin-Yang Locket was sucking in like a whale, and the sea of fire disappeared like a flash in the pan. The power of the fire brewing in the Yin-Yang Locket was far beyond Ning Fan's magical force. He couldn't keep it for his own use, but ultimately, this flame no longer belonged to Moksha Emperor. Puff! The white bone flame was snatched away. The black-armored giant's mountain fist was forcefully broken apart. He spat out a mouthful of black blood, pouring out like a raging river into the North Shine Nation's icy domain. It submerged the icy plains and dyed the world of white snow black. A hint of regret appeared in Moksha Sovereign's eyes. He was too careless this time. If he knew that this ant had a strange method to seize the evil fire, he would have left after destroying the old monster's meridians. Why did he have to go through the trouble of using the white bone flame and pressing down on the white bone finger? Hatred, a shocking hatred. The eyes of the black-armored giant turned pitch black, like the heavenly Tao. Brat, I'm going to kill you. Kill you. Ancient devil Tao, breaking bones to create soldiers. The black-armored giant bit off a finger, but strangely, not a single drop of blood flowed out. A little finger was like a small mountain. The giant bit off the little finger, and the finger bone turned into black light. The black light sprinkled into the sky and evolved into 100,000 demonic soldiers. 100,000 Mo soldiers wielded their swords and spears. They were like puppets, like clay puppets, extremely ferocious. Each one had peak core formation strength. Shattering a finger to summon 100,000 gold core demonic soldiers. Moksha Sovereign wanted to massacre them all. What was being massacred was the cultivation countries within 1,000,000 kilometers of you. Ning Fan absolutely could not withstand this technique. He was like a kite with a broken string, falling down from the clouds, falling down from 7 Apricot City. However, there was no need for him to take on the attacks because 2 Void Fragmentation Realm experts, 7 Void Refinement Realm experts and 12 Divine Transformation Realm old monsters had already broken through the void and rushed to his rescue. This group of old monsters were all arrogant and did not even look at 7 Apricot's tragic state. They were under the command of the Divine Emperor of the Rain World. They claimed to be righteous, so they were not interested in the destruction of the cities of the Devil Tao, nor were they sad. However, they could not just watch Moksha Sovereign release 100,000 Mo soldiers. Otherwise, countless cultivation countries would turn into scorched earth. Many righteous sects would be attacked by the Mo soldiers. Hiss. What kind of stimulation did this Moksha Sovereign receive? Why did he come to destroy a small city for no reason? Why did he have such hatred that he sacrificed himself to display the lost divine ability of the immemorial Devil Tao? Shattering a finger bone, without 100 years of bitter cultivation, he wouldn't be able to cultivate this little finger. Among the 2 Void Fragmentation Realm old monsters, one of them was a red-haired old man wearing a purplish-red python robe. His expression was solemn. While he was talking, his hands did not stop moving. He took out a void treasure, Phoenix Cry Ruler. The Blood Jade Ruler transformed into thousands of figures and struck at the Mo soldiers, turning them into blood mist. However, when the Mo soldiers transformed from Moksha Sovereign's broken bones exploded, the blood mist gathered again. This technique was the lost divine ability of the immemorial Devil Vein. The Mo soldiers transformed from it could not be destroyed unless there was a special method. The red-haired old man's expression turned solemn. He was only at the first layer of the Void Fragmentation Realm. Compared to Moksha Sovereign, there was still a huge gap. The other Void Fragmentation Realm old monster beside the old man was a young man who looked like a beggar. His hair was messy like grass and his clothes were ragged. Although his clothes were dirty, his appearance was quite handsome. His beard was unkempt, but he had a manly aura. He was the 3rd son of the Rain World's Divine Emperor, Yun Bushu. He was a second-layer Void Fragmentation Realm expert. Oh. The divine ability of the immemorial Devil Vein, shattering bones into soldiers. I wonder if it's stronger than my immemorial Divine Vein, Ice Divine Vein. The beggar's indifferent eyes suddenly flashed, revealing his monstrous battle intent. He laughed out loud and suddenly untied a rusty iron knife from his waist. He stretched out his left hand and chopped down 3 fingers with the knife. Using 3 of my fingers to deal with Moksha Sovereign's 1 finger. Hee, I wonder what happened to Moksha Sovereign to make him suffer such serious injuries. Otherwise, even if I cut off all 10 fingers, I wouldn't be able to hurt him. Ancient Divine Technique, Demon Emperor's Reign. After cutting off 3 fingers, the beggar clenched his fist and the 3 fingers exploded into blood mist. The icy wind in the sky rolled backwards. The icy chi within 1,000 li was absorbed by the beggar's palm. Together with the blood light, it turned into a rain of blood arrows. Hundreds of thousands of flying locusts fell from the sky. 100,000 Mo soldiers, 100,000 Mo soldiers, 100,000 blood rain. The Mo soldiers melted one after another and couldn't recover. Outside the White Bone Gate, Moksha Sovereign's giant body was injured again after his Mo soldiers were destroyed. If it wasn't for Ning Fan seizing the White Bone Flame, causing him to be injured first and his magical power to be in disorder, how could his Mo soldiers be destroyed by 2 ordinary void fragmentation experts? He was actually bullied by 2 void fragmentation trash. All of this was Ning Fan's fault. However, Moksha Sovereign understood that his injuries had worsened. No matter how much he hated Ning Fan, this was not the time to kill him. Furthermore, if he were to stay in the Rain World for a while longer, the Rain World's godly sovereigns and ice-like sword Yun Tianjue would come. He might even die in the Rain World. A dignified demon world's godly sovereigns would die in the Rain World because of a harmonious spirit ant's sneak attack. Originally, Moksha Sovereign decided to kill Ning Fan in the Rain World after 100 years when the ruins of the ancient heavenly court would open. But now, without 100 years, his injuries would not be able to heal. If he were to suffer more injuries, he might not be able to recover even after 100 years. He would miss the great inheritance of the ancient heavenly court. Hateful, Ning Fan was just a harmonious spirit ant, a mere harmonious spirit, a mere harmonious spirit. Roar! Moksha Sovereign circulated his magical power for the last time. With a roar, his evil aura swept across, causing the experts of the Rain World to retreat. Taking advantage of this opportunity, he stepped into the White Bone Gate and crossed the boundary to return to the demon world. However, his original purpose was to kill the old monster, but it was destroyed by a harmonious spirit junior. In his heart, there was one more person that he must kill, Ning Fan. Junior, after 100 years, when my ancient heavenly court returns, I will tear your body into 10,000 pieces. The giant gate closed and Moksha Sovereign escaped. Although he escaped, none of the experts of the Rain World dared to pursue him. 40 years ago, Moksha Sovereign also mysteriously came to the Rain World. No one knew what he did, but at that time, he was chased by 3 void fragmentation experts, 7 void refinement experts and 9 spirit severing experts. Moksha Sovereign was enraged. In the void, he killed 16 of the 19 pursuers and severely injured 3 others. Only 3 void fragmentation experts escaped with serious injuries. Although Moksha Sovereign was severely injured, if he risked his life, the experts of the Rain World wouldn't be able to stop him. He escaped. The red-haired old man snorted coldly and acted like an old man, but his eyes were obviously filled with joy. Obviously, he didn't want to fight to the death with Moksha Sovereign. As for the beggar, Yun Bushu, he recalled the words of Moksha Sovereign before he left and revealed a look of interest. Who did Moksha Sovereign say those words to? Could it be that Moksha Sovereign's injuries were related to this person? Who could actually injure the dignified godly sovereign of the demon world? Yun Bushu's spirit sense swept across 7 Apricot City and shook his head. In 7 Apricot City, the highest cultivation base was only at Harmonious Spirit. It seemed like the mysterious expert who injured Moksha Sovereign had left. Only when his spirit sense swept across Ning Fan did Yun Bushu feel slightly surprised and paid more attention to him. He vaguely felt an inexplicable sense of closeness to this person. Was it an illusion? Shaking his head, Yun Bushu formed a hand seal and cast a large-scale healing technique, the Void Realm Magical Art, Heaven Healing Art. It covered 100 li radius of 7 apricot city and healed the fainted evil cultivators. Third prince, why waste your magical power for a group of evil cultivators? The red-haired old man frowned in displeasure. The Rain World's godly sovereign was the leader of the righteous path, but this third prince had never relied on his identity. He was neither good nor evil, which gave the Rain World's godly sovereign a lot of headaches. Evil cultivators are also people of my Rain World. Let's go. The group of experts shattered the void and left. In 7 apricot city, countless evil cultivators who were healed by Yun Bushu's heaven healing art woke up one after another. Looking at the mess in 7 apricot city, they were shocked, but after the shock, they felt lucky. 7 apricot city was attacked by such a powerful expert, but they were still able to survive. This was really rare. Ning Fan was lying next to the old monster, unable to move even a finger. Beside him, the old monster's eyes were filled with sorrow, but also gratification. That person, who is he? Ning Fan finally asked. Han Yetian, this old man's adopted son, seems to be the devil world's Moksha Emperor Ning Brat. You saved this old man's life. This old man didn't accept the wrong disciple, but in the end, I couldn't block this person's attack. He is too strong and destroyed your meridians, but I couldn't stop him. You are only a harmonious spirit cultivator. What else do you want? Kill Moksha Emperor? Who do you think you are? You can save this old man's life from his hands. This old man is tired. I will sleep for a while. In a few days, you will go to Sinister Sparrow sect and bring the 3 black demon armies to 7 apricot city. I will leave it to you. This old man's cultivation is gone. I will stay in 7 apricot city and accompany Little May. The old monster's meridians were destroyed. How could Ning Fan not see it? Although the absolute Yin poison was vicious, it wasn't actually that powerful. Removing it was very easy, but the Dan recipe was too rare, and the Yin and Yang fusion technique had long been lost. Therefore, a 4th revolution Dan was more than enough to treat the absolute Yin poison. But now, the old monster's meridians were shattered by Moksha Emperor's evil energy. Reconnecting the meridians wasn't difficult. The difficult part was removing the evil energy from the meridians. With Ning Fan's harmonious spirit cultivation, he couldn't do it, unless he reached the void fragmentation realm or had methods comparable to the void fragmentation realm. Otherwise, he couldn't do it. Or, concocting a 6th revolution Dan and above could try to remove the evil energy, but this was also out of reach for Ning Fan. Master, if my cultivation increases, I will help you restore your meridians. The old monster didn't answer. There was no breath. 100 years later, when Moksha Emperor comes to the Rain Immortal world again, I will make him regret it. At that time, I will no longer be a harmonious spirit. 100 years later, between me and him, who is the ant, it is still unknown. The old monster still didn't answer. There was no breath, his eyes were closed, as if he was dead. Ning Fan's heart tightened, a sense of sorrow welled up in his heart. Could it be that the arrogant and tyrannical old monster that dominated the world died just like this? While he was feeling nervous, the old monster suddenly opened his eyes with a swish, revealing a murderous gaze as he stared at Ning Fan. That's right. When you stole the white bone flame, did you use the soul-burning divine ability? You used your father's soul-burning spirit iron. Your father suffered a loss. Little brat Ning, you cannot be so shameless. The old monster regained his spirit, closed his eyes, and didn't say anything. So this was what he was conflicted about. The happy old monster died, his adopted son betrayed him, and his meridians were destroyed twice, but he was still carefree and naive. This was the realm of an optimistic realm that made Ning Fan speechless. Chapter 36. 100 miles away from 7 apricot city, a magnificent ship was flying in the sky. Ning Fan was standing on the bow of the ship. The wind was shocking, but he remained motionless. 3 days ago, the old monster took away the 7 apricot records and gave Ning Fan's a storage pouch. 3 days later, the old monster kicked Ning Fan's out of 7 Apricot City and ordered him to quickly go to the Sinister Sparrow School to complete the so-called entrance exam. 3 days was too rushed. Ning Fan only had enough time to use all kinds of dawn to stabilize his body's injuries. His meridians were damaged, his bones were broken, his face was bruised, and his chest was actually covered in bandages. He didn't have time to refine the Jade Royal Dan before being kicked out by the old monster. Once he left 7 Apricot City, he wouldn't be able to return for many years. Go to the Sinister Sparrow School and help your father say hello to Sinister Sparrow. As for his daughter, whether you want to marry her or not, it is up to you. Once you enter the school, you must be down to earth. Talk less, kill more, and do real work. That is a good evil lord. Bask in the sun more, this way it won't be easy to form an evil heart. Inside the storage pouch, your father left some good things for you. Wait until you get on the 7 Apricot voyage ship before you can open it. The old monster nagged a lot, but there were many words of concern. After half a year together, Ning Fan never thought that he would say goodbye in this way. The 7 Apricot voyage ship was a high-rank magical treasure that could accommodate 10,000 people. When the old monster destroyed Sex in the past, he loved to drive this ship with the 3 black demon armies to descend from the sky and attack the righteous sections. This was the earliest example of a blitzkrieg in the Rain Immortal world. The creator was naturally the old monster. This ship had an amazing momentum. Not only was it extremely fast, but it was also equipped with 20 spirit artillery cannons that used immortal jades as energy. One cannon could even injure a gold-core old devil. However, it was very expensive. One cannon cost 2,000 immortal jades. Unless it was a critical moment, Ning Fan was reluctant to use these cannons. Because of the grand formation in his storage pouch to attack the Heavenly Beast School, he used up all the immortal jades, leaving him with less than 50,000 immortal jades. 50,000 immortal jades was enough to build several 7 Apricot cities. Ning Fan was definitely not poor, but compared to the previous few 100,000 immortal jades, it was only a drop in the ocean. The ice guards, sword guards and apricot guards of the 3 black devil divine guards were taken away by Ning Fan. He took half of the magical treasures from the treasury and gave them to the 3 god armies to upgrade their equipment. Half of the Plum Manor's spiritual herbs were also taken away. 7 Apricot City was still guarded by the 4 great families. Ning Fan was determined not to take it away and leave it for the old monster to protect himself. The old monster had lost his cultivation. Even though not many people knew about it, Ning Fan was not at ease without someone protecting him. There were 400 apricot guards, 500 sword guards, and 500 ice guards. Along the way, the ship's momentum was astonishing. When they passed by some small sects and clans, they would usually scare them as if they were facing a formidable enemy. If Ning Fan wanted to, he could easily annihilate a low-grade sect. However, now that he was severely injured, he did not have the mood to stir up trouble. He took out a black storage pouch. It was a high-grade magical treasure. Its storage space was 100 times more than his previous storage pouch. This storage pouch was given to Ning Fan's by the old monster. It was a bit old and seemed to have been used by the old monster in the past. Just this storage pouch alone was a good item. With this storage pouch, Ning Fan no longer needed to worry about not having enough items. His waist was full of different colored storage pouches, all of which were robbed from various places. Those who didn't know him would think that he was an 8-pouch elder from a beggar's sect. There were not many things inside the storage pouch, but when Ning Fan opened it, he felt a bit sour in his heart. The storage pouch was very spacious, but there were only 3 things inside. It was a red copper token with 10 suns engraved on it. The insolent handwriting of the letter was naturally written by the old monster. And a small cauldron. The small cauldron had 6 corners, 8 edges, and 3 legs. It was very familiar. High-grade magical treasure, Dan Fragmentation Cauldron, the old monster's signature magical treasure. He didn't expect the old monster to give his signature magical treasure to Ning Fan. Ning Fan's divine sense swept through the cauldron and found that there were 8 black fire dragons sealed inside. The black demon flame, the old monster who had lost his cultivation, even gave the black demon flame to Ning Fan. Ning Fan sighed in his heart. The old monster's cultivation had recovered, and he should have been able to dominate the world again, but the ups and downs of life, great joy and great sorrow came too fast, catching him off guard. But the old monster could still smile and calmly leave all his good things to Ning Fan. The old monster was very open-minded, disregarding honor and disgrace, but Ning Fan couldn't be so open-minded. Every time he thought of the old monster's cultivation being destroyed by Wuxia Emperor, his heart would turn as cold as ice. Wuxia Emperor. You will regret it 100 years later. Ning Fan kept the Dan fragmentation cauldron. Once his injuries were healed, he would completely devour the black demon flame and cultivate the black demon art. He looked at the token in the storage pouch. It looked ordinary, but with his immortal emperor's eyesight, he could see a trace of world-breaking force from it. Most of the tokens with world-breaking force were the keys to some secret places, but he didn't know where the key to this item was. But Ning Fan firmly believed that the old monster wouldn't give it to him for no reason. There must be a deeper meaning behind it. He kept the token and took out the last thing, the old monster's letter. Little Ning, you and I are master and disciple. I don't have anything good to give you after you leave. I'll give you the Dan fragmentation cauldron. When you destroy sects in the future, do your best to smash them. I'll also give you the black demon flame. When you reach the 3rd level of the black demon art, you can fuse the 9 fire dragons into one and extract the fire essence from them and refine it into your body. Only then can you be considered to have truly mastered an earth vein demonic flame. 100 years later, you might have a battle with Han Yetian. But 100 years is too short. No matter how heaven-defying your aptitude is, you won't be able to reach the void fragmentation realm. But if you can gather all the heavenly frost cold chi and earth vein demonic flame, even Han Yetian wouldn't dare to provoke you. Even the 9 great immortal emperors of the 9 great immortal domains wouldn't be your match. As for the earth vein demonic flame, you have already obtained the black demon flame and the white bone flame. You just need to find a suitable opportunity to devour them. As for the heavenly frost cold chi, in the secret place of sinister sparrow sect, there is one called profound Yin Chi. You can think of a way to steal it. I won't meddle in your business. As for the token, it is called Void Sky Token. It is the key to enter the ancient heavenly court. If there is a chance, when the ruins of the heavenly court opens, you can slip in and fish in troubled waters. After putting away the letter, Ning Fan's eyes revealed a contemplative look. It was as if he wanted to absorb everything that the old monster had told him. Behind him, little Jiha quietly watched with an obedient expression. Her small face was blushing. No one knew what she was thinking. Brother Fan looks so good when he is thinking. He looks like a gentleman. At the same time, in 7 Apricot City, the old monster was wearing a black robe. His hair was white and his magical power was gone, making him look old with a face full of hardships. He went down to 7 Apricot City and entered a secret underground palace. 7 Apricot City was originally not an ice city, but the old monster had turned the northern region of Yu country into a snowy region for one person. The reason? The secret place was 100,000 zhang deep underworld in 7 Apricot City. There was a huge space that was chiseled by a hatchet, 100 li in size. In the secret place, there was a sea of fire. In the center of the sea of fire, there was a flame coffin. In fact, the endless sea of fire at the bottom of this place was formed from the illusion of the coffin. The grade of the coffin was even higher than a void treasure. It was extremely extraordinary and definitely not something from the 9 great immortal worlds. There was a trace of heat circulating above the coffin, enough to easily incinerate a gold core old monster. Faintly, there was a trace of mysterious power on the coffin, enough to block the heavenly Tao. And inside the fire coffin, there was a pure and holy woman who seemed to be sleeping peacefully. This woman was somewhat similar to Dugu, but compared to Dugu's cold demeanor, she had a gentle and affectionate expression. This woman was Dugu's older sister. Her heart had stopped beating and there was not a trace of breath. Even her body was seriously injured and could collapse at any time. If it wasn't for the flame coffin that occasionally emitted a trace of heaven-deceiving force, once this woman's body left the fire coffin, she would certainly turn into ashes and be buried in samsara. And if an immortal god from the upper world was here and saw this fire coffin, they would certainly be shocked. This was because this fire coffin was a pure Yang world treasure, the heaven evasion coffin. In the past, in order to obtain this coffin, the old devil had once rushed to the pure Yang sect in the four heavens immortal world alone. The old devil slowly approached the sea of fire, separated by a distance of 10,000 zhang, and looked at the sleeping woman in the fire coffin in a daze. The waves of fire blew from afar, roasting the old devil's old hair, but he was completely unaware of all of this. Xiao Mei, my cultivation has finally been completely destroyed, it's that evil disciple again. I didn't listen to your advice in the past, and now, I've made one mistake after another, one after another. Little Ning has been driven away by me. He's a talent in devil cultivation. He might be able to avenge me, but I almost died this time, and my desire for revenge has also faded. Now that I think about it, as long as you can come back to life, revenge doesn't matter anymore. When Little Ning's cultivation is strong enough, I'll ask him to save you. That day shouldn't be too far away. 7 Apricot City and the entire icy domain were merely created by the old devil's spell. The purpose was just to make the sleeping woman in the sea of fire feel a little cooler. The old devil stood at the edge of the sea of fire, as if his lifetime of killing had been cleansed. Without the old devil and Ning Fan's Sea Fan Palace seemed lonely. Or perhaps, without the three divine armies, the entire 7 Apricot City felt somewhat empty. Under the apricot tree, a beautiful soul floated out of the grave. The wind and snow became even stronger, and the woman faintly looked at the departing 7 Apricot voyage ship. The ship had turned into the size of an ant and gradually became indistinct. He's gone. Dugu faintly sighed and suddenly turned her head. Her eyes fell on the side of the grave, on the bluestone. In a flash, her pretty face turned crimson with extreme embarrassment. On the bluestone, there was only one nascent soul sword chi left, and the second gold core sword chi was nowhere to be seen. On the bluestone, there was a message left by Ning Fan's, and it seemed to be filled with a teasing tone. Beauty has gold core sword chi, leaving an empty bluestone with no one to appreciate it, isn't it a pity? Ning Fan treads on the snow to come, riding the moon to take away the sword chi. If he reaches nascent soul in the future, he will definitely return to take the third sword. Signed, Young Noble Ning treads on the moon. Little Demon Ning, you are a scoundrel, you are a big liar. You said you won't steal the sword chi. I'm so angry, give me back my sword chi. In the Sea Fan Palace, little Dugu clenched her fists and stomped her feet in anger. Humph, the next time little Demon Ning comes back, I must teach him a lesson, but, when will he come back? Will it be long? The ship traveled for half a day. Ning Fan opened up a jade map with Nangong, Yuchi and Situ beside him. Of course, there was also the well-behaved Jiha and the restless Si Wuxia. Ning Fan unconsciously sneezed. He rubbed his nose and casually put a jade scabbard into his storage pouch. On the scabbard, there was a gold core sword chi stolen from Dugu Qingshi. He couldn't comprehend it in a short time, so he will comprehend it in the future. Could it be that little Dugu is scolding me? Ning Fan laughed and shook his head. There shouldn't be such a coincidence. Master, in another 10,000 li is Sinister Sparrow School. Cici wants to go down and play. Si Wuxia softly begged, interrupting Ning Fan's laughter. No. Ning Fan's eyes regained their coldness as he looked at the map again. This indifferent action made Si Wuxia angry, and the three commanders of the Mei clan had a strange expression on their faces. This naive and loveless little girl was really the infamous Heaven Separation Sect Lord, Si Wuxia. Young Lord could still be so cold in front of such a cute little girl. 10,000 li, we are almost at Sinister Sparrow School. Nangong, wait until we reach Sinister Sparrow School, you will lead the 3 guards to this mountain range. If necessary, there is no harm in building a city, Ning Fan said after a long time. This subordinate understands. This mountain range is not far from the main sect, only a few hundred li. When I have time, I will come and urge you to train. The day of the 3 divine armies' resurgence is not far away. Ning Fan's eyes lit up. Training the 3 divine armies, stealing mysterious Yin Qi, expanding his forces, and increasing his cultivation. This was the first time he embarked on his evil path. Everything was for the sake of ruthlessly trampling the high and mighty Moksha Emperor under his feet 100 years later, making this wolf pay the price. The Sinister Sparrow School was very close. Because of the entrance examination of Sinister Sparrow School, the ground was bustling with cultivators, bringing their juniors to Sinister Sparrow School. As for those vain opening cultivators, when they looked up and saw the magnificent ship in the sky, they were all dumbfounded. Chapter 37. 300 miles away from the dark Sparrow Valley, there was a maple forest that stretched for hundreds of miles. It was called Maple Forest. It seemed to be an abandoned forest garden of a cultivator family, but now, it was barren and uninhabited. There were still 3 days left until the disciple recruitment ceremony of Sinister Sparrow Sect. In the sky above the desolate maple forest, a splendid 10,000 Zhonglong fortress ship suddenly appeared. On the ship, 3 harmonious spirit experts were flying in the sky. One was casting an ice magical technique, one was controlling a purple demonic pet, and the last one was wearing a monastic robe and holding a sword. They attacked one after another, cutting down the forest. In just half an hour, the forest was razed to the ground by the 3 of them. Occasionally, the experts that passed by would think that it was a golden core realm old monster traveling when they saw the 3,000 Zhonglong ship and the eerie glow of treasures, so they all avoided it, not daring to spy on it. It seemed that the mysterious gold core old monster wanted to build a city in this barren mountain. The only thing that puzzled them was why would a gold core expert like this maple forest? This place had no mountains, no water, and no spiritual qi. It was too wasteful to build a city here. The ship landed on the ground. 1,400 evil cultivators came down from the ship as if they had received an order to build houses with the wood on the ground. Then, a young man and 2 women came down from the ship. The young man pointed his finger and the 1,000 zhang ship turned into a palm-sized golden ship and was kept into his storage pouch. The young man's face was pale and his injuries were severe. But he forced himself to control the construction and layout of the houses. From time to time, he would use immortal jades, immortal ores, and divine sense to connect with the heaven and earth to set up a grand formation. The physical strength of cultivators far surpassed that of mortals. Under the guidance of the young man, it only took half a day for the 1,400 devil cultivators to build 2,000 wooden houses. The houses were arranged in a circular shape, which was in line with the formation. They were surrounded by a wall that was 30 feet tall, and there was only one gate. The young man used 50,000 immortal jades and countless rare immortal ores to set up a core realm defensive formation around the city wall. With this formation, even gold core old monsters wouldn't dare to come here. But the young man frowned, still not satisfied. The wooden houses and stone city can only defend against beasts. If it is attacked by cultivators, it will certainly collapse. Moreover, this is a barren mountain with thin spiritual qi, which is disadvantageous to the cultivation of the 3 god armies. Fine, I'll let the 3 god armies stay here for the time being. In the future, I'll get some immortal minds and spiritual veins to transform the environment and rebuild the city. The young man was none other than Ning Fan, who had come from afar. Arriving at the western region of the Yu Kingdom, far from Seven Apricot City, the first task was to establish a base of operations. A city of 3 miles and a city of 7 miles was barely livable. On top of the city gate, Situ Sword Chi trembled and wrote the 2 words Ning City. Ning City meant the city of Ning Fans. Ning Fan had little interest in joining the sinister Sparrow sect. If it wasn't because he wanted to repay the old monster's favor, if it wasn't because he wanted to steal some mysterious Yin Chi, he wouldn't have been willing to join the sinister Sparrow sect even if his so-called fiancé was here. 2,000 houses and a 7-kilometer city. The scale was pitifully small, and the materials used to build the city were extremely ordinary. 7 Apricot City was built with profound ice, and its defense was astonishing. The Heaven Separation School was built with jades and had an oppressive spirit energy. Ning City, if a master architect were to see this city, he would laugh incessantly. Ning City, other than a passable defensive formation, the materials used could be described as simple and crude. There was nothing remarkable about it. Cece, you open the underground fire vein, I want to open a Dan refinement room in the city. While everyone was busy, Ning Fan ordered Si Wuxia to open the earth vein in order to use the earth fire to refine dawn. What he was refining was naturally the Jade Royal Dan. He didn't think that once the earth vein was opened, it would cause a small trouble that was negligible. In one day, a new Ning City was added to the Western Yu Kingdom. However, during this period of time, the Yu Kingdom's evil sects were holding their disciple recruitment ceremonies, so no one paid attention to Ning City. The only one that was hostile to Ning City was the Western Yu Kingdom's cultivation clan, the Lu clan. The Lu clan's patriarch, Lu Nanzi, was a peak harmonious spirit expert, only one step away from forming a gold core. He was also proficient in the body refinement technique and was quite famous in the Yu Kingdom. The location that Ning Fan chose to build Ning City, the Maple Forest, was actually an abandoned forest garden of the Lu clan. Decades ago, the maple forest was rich in a type of fire maple fruit. This fruit could refine one's body and was quite expensive, bringing endless benefits to the Lu clan. Later, due to the change of the terrain, the fire vein was blocked, and the tree stopped growing. The maple forest was also abandoned by the Lu clan. A group of evil cultivators occupied the maple forest and built Ning City. This news was impossible for Lu Nanzi to not know, but he didn't pay attention to it in the beginning. It was just an abandoned forest garden, if it was lost, then so be it. There was nothing to fuss about. But the next news made Lu Nanzi unable to stay calm, his eyes were burning with excitement. The fire vein at the bottom of the maple forest was opened by someone with great magical power. The fire vein is opened, doesn't that mean that the fire maple fruit can grow again? Lu Nanzi was pleasantly surprised, but at the same time, he was cursing in his heart. That year, when the fire vein was blocked in the maple forest, he couldn't open it even with his peak harmonious spirit magical power. Today, a group of evil cultivators built a broken city and accidentally opened the fire vein. This group of evil cultivators was really lucky. But now that the fire vein was opened, this maple forest couldn't be given to this group of evil cultivators to build a city. He stroked his beard, his eyes lit up, and looked at the old servant beside him. Lu Ming, who is the person who occupied the maple forest? What is his cultivation, origin, and background? Reporting to Patriarch, this old servant has sent people to investigate. The so-called Ning City is called a city, but in fact, it is very simple and inconspicuous. This Ning City shouldn't have any background, perhaps it is a new force. A new force? This is also possible. And, let me think. Ning City. I think the lord of this city is surnamed Ning, There doesn't seem to be a force with the surname Ning in Yu country. How about this, you bring the Southern House battle guards to drive this group of evil cultivators out of the boundary of the maple forest. Don't kill them if you can. Of course, if they are stubborn, you don't have to be merciful. What? Master wants this old servant to bring the Southern House battle guards. The old servant named Lu Ming revealed a shocked expression. In the cultivation world, generally, a big force would use their experts to form a battle guard using a formation. For example, the old devil had 3 battle guards, the ice guards, the apricot guards, and the sword guards. And the Yu country's Lu family had a 500-man Southern House battle guards, ranked 17th in the Yu country's battle guard list. Even the battle guards of some big sects were not as powerful as the Lu family. The Southern House battle guards had a cultivation of 4th level vein opening and above. These 500 men were well trained. If they were sent out, they could probably destroy a small family. Lu Ming couldn't understand why the patriarch would use the Southern House battle guards to deal with a new force. Isn't this like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken? Isn't the patriarch being a little too cautious? He swallowed his saliva and whispered, "Patriarch, don't send the Southern House battle guards. This old servant alone, a dignified early harmonious spirit expert, is more than enough to destroy a small city. Lu Ming, you are good at everything except for one shortcoming, you are too arrogant. Remember, no matter how weak the enemy is, you must go all out. Like an eagle pouncing on a rabbit, spare no effort." This sentence, remember it well. Go after Lu Nanzi finished, he closed his eyes and no longer spoke. And Lu Ming didn't dare to disobey Lu Nanzi's order. He went out and gathered 500 Southern House battle guards. Under the cover of the night, they rushed towards Ning City. 500 Southern House battle guards, each of them was at 4th level vein opening. They were riding strange beasts with an imposing manner. Along the way, when the cultivators saw the Southern House battle guards of the Western Yulu family coming out in full force, they hurriedly ran away in surprise. The Lu family sent out the Southern House battle guards again. This time, which evil sect are they going to destroy? Look, the early harmonious spirit commander Lu Ming personally leading the army. TSK, to be able to see the glory of a harmonious spirit senior, this life is not in vain. Along the way, there were occasional discussions between cultivators. Mixed with the sound of horse hooves, it entered Lu Ming's ears, making him even more impatient. The patriarch is making a mountain out of a molehill. To destroy a small Ning city, he actually sent out the Southern House battle guards. 2 hours later, the Southern House battle guards had traveled a few hundred li. In the distance, an inconspicuous small city appeared. Lu Ming was, after all, a harmonious spirit expert. With his experience, he could naturally see that the building materials used in this so-called peace city were just ordinary stones and wood, not worth mentioning, so he disdained it. He waved his hand. 10 li away from Ning City, the Southern House battle guards stopped their horses. Then, his divine sense moved. Under the waning moon, an arrogant voice resounded throughout the entire Ning City. This old man is Lu Ming, the commander of the Southern House battle guards of the Lu family. I have come to reclaim Ning City. Lord of Ning City, this old man will give you 10 breaths of time to come out and see me. If you surrender, this old man can spare your life. Lu Ming squinted his old eyes. Sitting on the unicorn, he had the bearing of a senior. The corner of his mouth curled into a sneer. His early harmonious spirit divine sense didn't scare the evil cultivators of Ning City, right? The evil cultivators living in this dilapidated Ning City must be country bumpkins. How could they have seen a harmonious spirit expert before? He was sneering in disdain. Suddenly, his smile froze on his face. His old eyes widened in disbelief. Because of excessive fear, the muscles on his old face cramped. His face became distorted, making him look ridiculous. He couldn't even speak clearly. 3 harmonious spirit experts. 2 intermediate. 1 late. And, so many, men, under the moonlight, Nangong, Situ, and Yuchi stood in the sky. Their harmonious spirit chi was released arrogantly. Each of them had a murderous look on their faces. And the 1,400 evil cultivators, in just a few breaths, rushed out of Ning City like a tidal wave. Then, they quickly arranged themselves into 3 large formations. Yin and Yang Chaotic Apricot Formation, 3 Talent Killing Sword Formation, and 4 Ice Emperor Formation. 1,400 people. The lowest cultivation was 5th level vein opening. The killing intent that these 1,400 people had been hiding for 40 years was released on this night. What kind of bullshit is this? How dare you disturb our young noble Ning's dream in the middle of the night? You don't want to live anymore. Yuchi's face was flushed. He was holding the little purple pig and laughing. His intermediate harmonious spirit magical power rolled out. Commander Lu Ming coughed out blood and fell off his horse. He was terrified to death. Young noble Ning. Who is young noble Ning? To be able to command 3 tyrannical battle guards and have 3 harmonious spirit experts as his subordinates, this young noble Ning was not a nobody in Yu country. It's over. This time, our Lu family has kicked a big iron plate kill. This father's broadsword is already thirsting for blood. Yuchi took the lead and the 3 black demon armies immediately surrounded the Southern House battle guards. It was a one-sided battle. Half an hour later, 300 of the Southern House battle guards were dead and 200 were captured. Commander Lu Ming was beaten half to death by Yuchi and was captured. Outside of Ning City, there was a commotion. Inside the newly opened alchemy room, Ning Fan's spirit sense swept through the room. He smiled. The situation outside had already entered his eyes. Not bad, it seems like I don't need to do anything. The 3 black demon armies trained by Master are really extraordinary. He recollected his thoughts and concentrated on alchemy. The ground in front of him had a 3-zhang fire pit. The earth fire was drawn out from the ground. Above the fire pit was the Dan fragmentation cauldron. The 8 fire dragons were sealed inside the yin-yang locket. At this moment, the cauldron was refining the Jade Royal Dan. The Jade Royal Dan was not complicated to concoct. It was only a 4th revolution Dan, but its ingredients were extremely rare. The supplementary ingredients were fine, but the 2 most important ingredients were Jade Royal Grass and Coiling Evil Grass. These 2 grasses were known to be hard to find by immortal emperors. The Jade Royal Dan concocted with these grasses had the heaven-defying effect of cleansing the marrow. It could improve one's cultivation physique and increase the strength of the body. Rumor has it that after consuming the Jade Royal Dan, one could finally cultivate a transcendent immortal body. At that time, even an immemorial divine weapon would not be able to break the defense of the body. It could be called immortal. However, the ingredients for this Jade Royal Dan were hard to find. Moreover, there was a harsh condition for consuming it. One had to be seriously injured. The so-called reconstruction after destruction. Without destruction, there would be no reconstruction. If you don't shatter your bones and break your meridians, how can you truly reshape your body and cleanse the marrow? Just removing the impurities from the body was not enough. Even after removing the impurities from the cotton, could it still turn into steel? Ning Fan's body had been malnourished since he was young. His physique was weak, and now he was seriously injured, with broken bones and damaged meridians. This body could not be any more broken. And this was the perfect time to take the Jade Royal Dan. In the Dan fragmentation cauldron, a wisp of pill fragrance came out. Outside the cauldron, there was a spiritual fluctuation. There was still half a day before the Jade Royal Dan would be completed. The sky gradually brightened. 500 miles away, the Lu family was in a mess. Lu Nanzi had a comfortable sleep, but when he woke up, Lu Ming and the Southern House battle guards had not returned. Strange, mobilizing the 17th ranked battle guard in Yu countries to destroy a small new city, why did it take so long? Not even one night was enough. Could it be that there's been some sort of accident? Hee, how could it be? Lu Ming's temper is a bit wild, but he is still a harmonious spirit expert. With the Southern House Battle Guard's formation, even a gold core old monster would have to retreat. And, this old man is thinking too much. Perhaps Lu Ming had some matters on the way and was delayed. He will be back in a while. He waited and waited until noon, but Lu Ming still had not returned. Lu Nanzi's eyelids kept twitching, and his heart was faintly uneasy. He took out a jade talisman. This talisman was called the sound-transmitting talisman. It was divided into a main talisman and a sub-talisman. As long as the talisman was within 1,000 miles, the person holding it could communicate. Making a hand seal, Lu Nanzi cleared his throat and smilingly scolded the talisman. Lu Ming, come back quickly. How long do you want to spend to destroy a Ning city? There was no reply from the other side of the talisman. Lu Ming. Answer me. There was no reply. Not good, could it be that something happened? Lu Nanzi was shocked. Lu Ming was a harmonious spirit expert, leading the Southern House Battle Guards out. How could something happen? What could happen? But if nothing happened to Lu Ming, how could he not respond when he called him? While Lu Nanzi was still in shock, a feminine man's voice came from the other side of the talisman. Even through the talisman, Lu Nanzi felt a chill in his soul. Such a profound ice spirit force cultivation. My name is Nangong, your people are in my hands. Hehe, if you want to ransom them, come to Ning City and discuss the conditions. On this day, in the cultivation world of you countries, there was a shocking kidnapping and extortion case. And Ning City, for the first time, entered the sight of an expert. Chapter 38. He, who was a peak harmonious spirit expert, slumped on the chair with a dull look. Captured Lu Ming, a harmonious spirit expert, and the 500 Southern House Battle Guards were completely annihilated. These are my battle guards that I have trained for decades. He smashed the tea table beside him with his palm, but it didn't ease the anger in his heart. According to Nangong, who was on the other side of the jade talisman, his master was the Lord of Ning City, young noble Ning. Young noble Ning in your country had such a person. What was this person's cultivation? What was his background? How could he capture 200 Southern House Battle Guards without batting an eyelid? What made Lu Nanzi in disbelief was not the 300 dead battle guards, but the 200 captured battle guards. These battle guards were adopted by Lu Nanzi since they were young and trained all the way until now. Their cultivation may not be very high, but the combined attack of a formation was terrifying. Moreover, Lu Nanzi instilled a belief in them since they were young. Die in battle, never surrender. The Southern House Battle Guards were death warriors. That so-called young noble Ning could capture 200 battle guards alive without giving them the chance to commit suicide. This was much more difficult than killing 200 people. The 200 battle guards and Lu Ming must be rescued. Without this force, the Lu family's strength had shrunk by half. But Lu Nanzi was not prepared to comply with Nangong's threat and ransom them with money. No matter what, he was a peak harmonious spirit expert, a half-step gold core expert. Ransoming them was simply a loss of face. Humph. Go find a few friends if there is a chance, I will flatten Ning City. His eyes flashed with a trace of darkness. He summoned a 3-mark immortal cloud and flew away. 3-mark immortal cloud. Lu Nanzi's flying speed was almost comparable to an early gold core expert. A day later, he had traveled more than half of your country and invited 3 friends. 2 peak harmonious spirit experts and 1 early gold core expert. He, Lu Nanzi, was not a fool. Since that young noble Ning could easily capture 200 battle guards, he must be very powerful. But no matter how powerful he was, Lu Nanzi did not believe that the other party was a gold core old monster. After all, a gold core old monster would not be interested in a remote place like that to build a city. The other party was not a gold core old monster, but he had invited a real gold core expert. It was more than enough to destroy Ning City. 2 peak harmonious spirit experts, one surnamed Zhu and the other surnamed Chen. As for that early gold core realm old monster, his name was Nanyang Zi. He could be considered a senior expert who had established a sect in the state of Yu. As Nanyang Zi listened to Lu Nanzi's narration, he pondered for a moment, his long eyebrows knitted together. The Southern House battle guards have been annihilated, Lu Ming that little guy has also been captured. Nanyang Zi, a gold core realm old monster, had a slight friendship with Lu Ming's father. This was also the reason why he decided to help Lu Nanzi. The 4 experts rode on the clouds and arrived above Ning City a few hours later. Lu Nanzi looked down at Ning Cheng, the corners of his mouth curled up into a sneer. With a single glance, he could see that Ning City was in shambles. Originally, he still had a trace of caution, but at this moment, it all turned into contempt. A wooden house and a stone city. How could the city lord, young Master Ning, be an expert living in such a shabby city? On the other hand, not only was he a peak harmonious spirit expert, but he had also invited 2 peak harmonious spirit experts and an early gold core expert. Lu Nanzi smiled proudly. Whether it was the mortal world or the cultivation world, having many friends and connections was the truth. The more profound an old monster's cultivation, the more they liked to visit friends and discuss the Tao, making friends all over the world. While Lu Nanzi was sizing up Ning City, the other 3 old monsters were also sizing up Ning City. Old Monster Chen and Old Monster Zhu had the same expression as Lu Nanzi. When they saw the shabby Ning City, they revealed a sneer. Only the gold core realm Nanyang Zi's divine sense swept across Ning City. He was startled at first, then revealed a pondering expression, then disbelief, and finally, a deep shock emerged on his face. This is, a core-level grand formation. A core-level grand formation was enough to kill a gold core old monster. In the entire Yu country, only the Great Void sect, Heavenly Beast sect and other sects had the qualifications to set up a core-level grand formation. Even the Sinister Sparrow sect only had a spirit-level grand formation, which could only defend against harmonious spirit experts. A mere Ning City, a shabby city that was built in a day, actually had a core-level grand formation. What was the origin of this young Master Ning of Ning City? Among the 4 old monsters, 3 of them were looking down on Ning City, and the one with the highest cultivation, Nanyang Zi, had already regarded young Master Ning, who he had never met before, as someone that he could not afford to provoke. Before Nanyang Zi could explain to Lu Nanzi and the others about the terror of the city's grand formation, 1,400 evil cultivators suddenly rushed out of Ning City like a tidal wave. Each of them had a cultivation of 5th level vein opening and above. 3 groups of evil cultivators formed 3 grand formations outside the city. The murderous aura that soared to the sky shocked Nanyang Zi once again. Ning City actually had 3 groups of battle guards, and each of them was not weaker than the Southern House battle guards. How was this possible? 1 battle guard was enough to resist a gold core expert. 3 battle guards, even if the 4 of them attacked together, they still might not be able to win. Nanyang Zi faintly felt that it was a wrong decision to follow Lu Nanzi to Ning City for revenge. Just as this thought rose in his mind, 3 figures stepped into the sky. One was a feminine man, one was a black towering man, and one was as cold as a sword. 3 people, 2 intermediate harmonious spirit and 1 late harmonious spirit. Lu Nanzi, the old man's surnamed Chen and Zhu were all peak harmonious spirit experts. They didn't put the 3 commanders in their eyes. But Nanyang Zi, with his gold core eyesight, could see that the 3 of them were extraordinary. Nangong had changed into a purple robe. His long hair was like a waterfall, and his eyes were feminine and cold. His cold eyes didn't feel anything in Lu Nanzi's eyes, but in Nanyang Zi's eyes, it made his soul shiver. That cold eyes seemed to be able to penetrate his spirit sense. Yuchi was 2 zhang tall, like an iron tower, and his face was glowing red. His cultivation wasn't high, only intermediate harmonious spirit, but the little pig in his arms gave Nanyang Zi a vague feeling that this person could break through to the gold core realm in less than 10 years. And Situ gave Nanyang Zi a deep impression. He was wearing a monastic robe, neither a monk nor a Taoist. He carried a sword on his back, and his sword intent was shocking. His cultivation was obviously only late harmonious spirit, but his sword intent gave Nanyang Zi an illusion that if this person was really angry, even he might not be able to block this person's sword light. I can't imagine that the water in Ning City is so deep. If it wasn't for his face, Nanyang Zi would have immediately turned and left. He had lived for hundreds of years, and his eyesight had improved. He knew that some people must never be offended. Unfortunately, Lu Nanzi and the other two didn't have Nanyang Zi's eyesight, and all of them looked arrogant. In 3 breaths, make your city lord come out. Old man Chen humphed coldly and took the initiative to speak. So what if there were 3 harmonious spirit experts? Without a peak harmonious spirit expert, they couldn't cause any trouble to them. So what if there were 3 battle guards? Vein opening juniors couldn't fly in the sky, so how could they hit them? The so-called young noble Ning seemed to have a great reputation, but in fact, it was just an undeserved reputation. Lu Nanzi and the other two had the same thought. They had almost decided to annihilate Ning City today. The extortion failed. In that case, let's just kill them all. Nangong sneered. Even if the opponent was a gold core expert, he wasn't afraid. His true strength was above Situ, and he was Situ's big brother. A battle was about to break out, but at this moment, the spiritual energy in the sky above Ning City suddenly became chaotic. Half of the sky was dyed with jade-colored clouds, and the other half was dyed with dark golden clouds. When the 2 colors of clouds intertwined, a vast spiritual vortex appeared in the sky. Clouds appeared in the sky, and the spiritual vortex. Without a doubt, this was the formation of a 4th revolution Dan. This time, it wasn't just Nanyang Zi who was shocked, even Lu Nanzi, Old Man Chen and Old Man Zhu were shocked. There was actually a 4th revolution Dan master in Ning City. A 4th revolution Dan master, an expert that even nascent soul-old monsters had to treat as a distinguished guest. Not only Nanyang Zi and the others were shocked, but even Nangong and the others were astonished. They only knew that Ning Fan was in seclusion, but they didn't know that he was concocting a 4th revolution Dan. The eyes of the 3 commanders were filled with fiery passion. If their young lord became a 4th revolution Dan master, even if his cultivation base was still at the intermediate harmonious spirit realm, his appeal would become extremely terrifying. Even the great void sect master wouldn't dare to offend him. In the next moment, the spiritual vortex shattered, and a wisp of pill fragrance soared to the sky. At the same time when the Dan was formed, heavenly lightning that was half golden and half black struck down. Under the heavenly lightning, even Nanyang Zi felt a chill in his heart. The 4th revolution heavenly tribulation could easily kill an ordinary gold core expert. Young lord, can you withstand the heavenly tribulation? Nangong and the others were slightly worried. In the concoction room, Ning Fan patted the lid of the Dan fragmentation cauldron, and with a flick of his sleeve, a few half-golden and half-black pills were caught in his palm and kept into a pill bottle. His spirit sense swept across and sensed the invading enemies in the sky above Ning City. His eyes turned cold. Cece, go and block the heavenly tribulation, none of the invaders are allowed to escape. Ning Fan ordered outside the door. He sat cross-legged and breathed out a mouthful of turbid qi. After pondering for a long time, he swallowed a jade royal Dan and kept the other pills temporarily. As the pill entered his throat, it was slowly refined. Ning Fan's injuries healed at an astonishing speed. The injuries in his meridians were healed in an instant. His shattered bones were restored in an instant. Even the hidden injuries from many years ago were healed one by one. Not only that, Ning Fan's physique was obviously a little stronger than before, and was no longer weak. But before he could rejoice, a sudden sharp pain struck him, almost causing him to faint. His meridians were broken. All the bones in his body were shattered. But the strange thing was that as the medicinal energy was being refined, Ning Fan's meridians and bones were once again healed and became tougher. But in the next moment, his meridians were broken again and again, his meridians were broken, and his bones were shattered. Ning Fan's body was being reborn from the cocoon during this process. This was the Jade Royal Dan, the domineering Jade Royal Dan. This Dan was enough to rewrite one's physique, allowing a mortal to possess a transcendent immortal physique that was envied by immortals and devils, but at the same time, one had to pay a huge price. When a butterfly broke out of the cocoon, the moment it broke out from the cocoon, the pain was as if a layer of skin had been torn off. Many butterflies died from the pain the moment they broke out of the cocoon. More than 90% of those who took the Jade Royal Dan died from the pain during the process of breaking out, including devils and devils. The indestructible physique of devils and devils could defend against all attacks, but it could not block pain. To block pain, what was needed was not magical power, but a strong heart. Endure, or else, you will die. Ning Fan's lips were pale from the pain, but he gritted his teeth and persevered. Under the pain, Ning Fan's bones gradually emitted a silver light, like the stars. This was called the Silver Bone Realm among the body refinement cultivators. It was the body refinement realm that countless gold core body refinement cultivators yearned for. Chapter 39. Amidst the pain, the first Jade Royal Dan was finally completely refined. Ning Fan let out a low roar as his skin suddenly emitted a faint silver light. Below his bones, there was even a touch of silver. The silver light was extremely faint. The distance to the Silver Bone Realm was still far, but now, Ning Fan's body had reached a horrifying level. His robe was soaked in sweat. Using his magical power, Ning Fan dried his robe and exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. His skin was fairer than before, without a trace of impurities. Breaking and rebuilding, this was the true cleansing of the meridians and marrow. He patted his storage pouch and took out a low mid-rank long sword. He slashed at his arm. The place where he was slashed was wrapped in a silver light, emitting a metallic sound. It was slightly numb, but only a red mark was left on his arm. One Jade Royal Dan allowed Ning Fan to use his body to block a flying sword. His eyes lit up. He waved his palm and took out the second Jade Royal Dan. The pain from before was not worth mentioning. A single Jade Royal pill could allow his body to withstand the attack of a low-grade flying sword. If he refined 2 Jade Royal pills, how strong would his body be? Ning Fan revealed an expectant expression and swallowed the second Jade Royal Dan. In his opinion, his yin-yang evil vein had a heaven-defying effect on devouring dawn. Taking 2 Jade Royal Dawn in a row should be fine. But once the Dan entered his mouth, his expression immediately changed. He realized that he had underestimated the overbearing power of the Jade Royal Dan. This action made him regret it. The pain of refining the second Jade Royal pill was actually 100 times more painful than the first pill. In a flash, his meridians were destroyed, and the 100 times pain made him spurt out a mouthful of blood. His face was full of shock. He immediately understood one thing. In the cultivation world, there were some dawn with heaven-defying effects, but these dawn generally had a side effect. After taking one, there would be a gap of several years or even dozens of years before the second one could be taken. If forcefully taken, there would be extreme side effects. This 100 times pain was most likely the side effect of the Jade Royal Dan. Ning Fan smiled wryly. The inherited memories of ancient chaos did not mention the side effects of the Jade Royal Dan. The reason was because even ancient Chaos Great Emperor had never taken the Jade Royal Dan that was hard to find for immortal emperors. He didn't know if the Jade Royal Dan could be taken continuously. And from the looks of it, the Jade Royal pill obviously couldn't be taken consecutively. He had been too careless. Everything had been going smoothly for him all this while. Ning Fan had already lost the cautiousness he had when he was a weakling. He was deeply vigilant, but the most important thing right now was to suppress the pain in his body. After refining the second Jade Royal Pill, his fleshly body would reach an even more terrifying realm. However, the prerequisite was that he could endure the pain. He had to think of a way to suppress the pain. Otherwise, once the medicinal energy completely dissolved, the pain would be 100 times more intense. Even god fiends might not be able to endure it, let alone him. If the dignified successor of ancient chaos were to die from the pain of a pill, that would be too shameful. While Ning Fan's thoughts were running through his mind, the yin-yang locket transmitted a cool feeling while the bloodlines on the green jade locket lit up with a bright red light. At this critical moment, the yin-yang locket that was linked to Ning Fan's life instinctively wanted to protect its master. The cooling sensation slightly suppressed the pain, but the effect was negligible. The instinctive action of the yin-yang locket did not seem to be able to alleviate Ning Fan's pain. However, Ning Fan discovered one thing. The comfort of the body could alleviate the pain. This cooling comfort might not be enough to suppress the brutal pain from the Jade Royal Pill, but if it was something else, could it do the same? The most comfortable things in life were nothing more than two things. One was to break through realms, and the other was dual cultivation. Breaking through realms was impossible in a short period of time, but dual cultivation. He did not know if this action could suppress the pain. Almost immediately, Ning Fan stepped on an icy rainbow and flew out of the Dan refinement room, heading straight to Jihe's bedroom. He could only think of Jihe, his only wife at the moment. Perhaps he could dual cultivate with Si Wuxia, but he had some fear in his heart. Dual cultivation with the yin-yang locket had an advantage. It allowed him to increase his cultivation with his beloved woman, but this also seemed to be a disadvantage. If Ning Fan's dual cultivation with Si Wuxia, the result would be Ning Fan's cultivation increase, and Si Wuxia's cultivation would also increase. Before Si Wuxia was captured, she was a false nascent cultivator. Once she dual cultivated with the yin-yang locket, she would have a high chance of breaking through to the nascent soul realm. But after that, it was unknown whether his spirit puppet technique could control Si Wuxia. If he was able to refine the cauldron ring and had thousands of women as cauldrons, then there would be no need to worry. Little Jihe had just gotten up when she was woken up by the lightning tribulation in the sky. She rubbed her eyes, still in a daze, but then she saw Ning Fan's icy rainbow flash and appear in her room. Big Brother Fan, what happened? Did someone come to cause trouble again? And, don't worry. Compared to them, your big brother Fan is in more danger right now. Ning Fan wryly smiled. This was not the time to explain. He pounced on little Jihe. The pain in his body slowly calmed down under a wonderful touch. However, the crisis was far from over. Under the intense pain, Ning Fan found that the yin-yang locket continued to flicker with a strange red light. The blood lines on the green jade lit up with a red light. The original effect of the yin-yang locket was to increase the cultivation of both the man and the woman, but at this moment, it became a robbery. His pain was suppressed, and his magical power was increasing, but Jihe's cultivation was falling. Ning Fan could feel that with his actions, one of the vein-opening immortal veins in little Jihe's body was broken. This was a sign that her cultivation was falling. A pained expression appeared on her face. He was not using dual cultivation to suppress the pain, he was clearly plucking yin to replenish yang, transferring the pain to Jihe's body, and taking away her cultivation. The yin-yang locket instinctively protected its master and accidentally activated the first-level magical treasure ability of the yin-yang transformation, plucking and seizing. The yin-yang locket's effect was to assist a man and a woman in dual cultivation, and at the same time improve their cultivation. But if the host activated the first level of plucking and seizing, he could seize the woman's cultivation and use it for himself. He was actually plucking Jihe. Pulling his body out from Jihe's muddy body, Ning Fan felt as if a knife was twisting in his heart. Jihe was his wife, not a cauldron. He could dual cultivate with her, but for the rest of his life, he would never pluck her. The only thing he would pluck was a cauldron. And he, for the rest of his life, would never fall in love with a cauldron. Should I pluck Si Wuxia? Ning Fan suddenly sat up with a monstrous evil aura in his eyes. But immediately after, he gritted his teeth and felt a trace of reluctance in his heart. Si Wuxia, who had her memories erased, had reverted to a blank slate. She was extremely reliant on Ning Fan, completely different from her past self. If it was the ruthless Si Wuxia from before, Ning Fan would not show any mercy. But the current Si Wuxia, could she be the same person as before? He couldn't do anything to her. What should I do? Who else can I pluck? His heart was hesitating. He could not pluck Jihe, he was not willing to pluck Si Wuxia, who else could he pluck? An intense pain that could drown everything shattered all of his thoughts. There was no time. At this time, the roof suddenly rumbled, and a heavy object fell to the ground. It was a green jade coffin. The lid of the ancient green jade coffin fell open, revealing the corpse of a woman lying inside. She seemed to be breathing weakly, but at the same time, she seemed to have been dead for countless years. Her face was deathly pale and extremely beautiful, like a figure from a painting. What she was wearing was actually the clothes of an ancient fairy from the heavenly court. Where did the female corpse come from? Who was this female corpse? Ning Fan's mind went blank, but soon, there was only one thought in his mind. Could it be that the heavens bestowed a female corpse for me to pluck? Plucking female corpses was better than plucking paper cranes. Above the vault of heaven, under the boundless lightning, Si Wuxia's sleeves fluttered, shattering the heavenly lightning with a single wave. With a few waves of her sleeves, the sky full of lightning tribulation was dispersed. This scene was indescribable in the eyes of Nanyang Zi and the other three. If the three black demon divine armies made Nanyang Zi fearful, then this late gold core aura made him fearful. As for Lu Nanzi, he was scared out of his wits because he saw Si Wuxia shattering the heavenly lightning tribulation and walking towards the four of them with light steps. In an instant, Lu Nanzi, Nan Yangzi, and Chen Zhu all understood one thing. Coming to Ning City to seek revenge was the stupidest thing they had ever done in their entire lives. Ning City Lord, young noble Ning, who was this person? How could he have a late gold core helper? Split up and run. The four of them ran in four different directions, but they were blocked by four different people. Lu Nanzi and the other two were blocked by the three commanders. After a round of fighting, they were all shocked. Although their cultivation was weak, their combat strength was not any weaker than theirs. Nanyang Zi, who was blocked by Si Wuxia, was horrified. He took out his middle-grade flying sword, but it was broken by Si Wuxia with a wave of her sleeve. He panicked and took out several magical treasures, but they were all broken by Si Wuxia's long sleeve. His storage bag gradually deflated. Nanyang Zi found that the gap between him and Si Wuxia was like heaven and earth. Gritting his teeth, Nanyang Zi took out an ancient green jade coffin. This ancient coffin was obtained by chance 300 years ago when he was young. He tried his best but still couldn't open this coffin. He vaguely guessed that this coffin was a powerful magical treasure, but he didn't know its grade. He also didn't know what was buried in the ancient coffin. No one knew that Nanyang Zi, who was now a famous figure in Yu country, was just a small grave robber 300 years ago. After stealing this coffin, Nanyang Zi didn't dare to let anyone see it. He only dared to study how to open the ancient coffin by himself. Today, in the face of life and death, he had no magical treasure to protect himself. He had no choice but to take out the ancient coffin and carry the huge green coffin, trying to kill Si Wuxia. This magical treasure of unknown grade might be able to suppress Si Wuxia, but before he could take out the ancient coffin, Si Wuxia waved her sleeve and hit Nanyang Zi's wrist. Pain came from his wrist, and the ancient coffin crashed into Ning City, right in the middle of Jihe's room. Later, Ning Fan gently carried the girl who seemed to be sleeping in the ancient coffin onto the bed. If he didn't hurt Jiha, he could only hurt the female corpse. Chapter 40. The female corpse's skin was snow white. No, it should not be called snow white. More accurately, it was deathly pale. After this woman died, she was sealed in the ancient coffin for an unknown number of years. People say that there is no concept of time in the world of cultivation. However, Ning Fan could deduce that this lady was at least a beauty from billions of years ago based on her attire. Her skin was lustrous and her bones were smooth. She had a graceful posture. Ning Fan even felt that this female corpse was actually a sleeping beauty. Her eyelashes were affectionate, and her hair was gentle. The female corpse was slightly thin, and her lips were pale red without blood. This girl might have been sickly and weak before. Perhaps, she was originally a sickly beauty. In Ning Fan's mind, there seemed to be an image of a weak girl who was self-pitying and burying her flowers with a hoe. In the lonely wind, it was like a stalk of crimson pearl immortal grass that had no one to rely on. Ning Fan shook his head and got rid of the strange thoughts in his mind. He smiled bitterly. What's wrong with me? I actually fell in love with a female corpse. Perhaps it was because he could empathize with a woman's loneliness. He looked at the dead woman's face and blamed himself. I can't pluck Jiha, I can't pluck Si Wuxia, so I can only settle for the next best thing, sorry. I don't have a choice. At this moment, suppressing the pain of the Jade Royal Dan was more important. Ning Fan sighed and pressed on. The cold temperature and the stiff corpse gave Ning Fan a sense of warmth that he had not felt for many years. It made Ning Fan fall into a trance again. The yin-yang demon vein's magic power circulated in the direction of reverse yang to generate yin in his broad palm. A trace of yin-yang magic power came out of his finger and pointed at the female corpse. The force of the yin plucking finger seeped into the female corpse's skin. Her originally stiff teeth unexpectedly softened. Although the woman was dead, her corpse seemed to have an instinctive reaction, and some saliva flowed out of her body. This made Ning Fan feel a chill down his spine. Was this woman dead or alive? Do dead people salivate? Ning Fan's fingertip went into the female corpse's small cherry-like mouth. He vaguely felt something sharp and pricked it. Sharp teeth. The female corpse had sharp teeth in her mouth. Ning Fan swallowed a Jade Royal Dan. His body was able to withstand the attack of a low-rank, mid-rank magical treasure without any injuries, but after being pierced by the woman's sharp teeth, his skin was instantly broken. Moreover, a trace of poison quickly spread from the wound on her fingertip to his whole body. Corpse poison. Ning Fan used both of his hands to pry open her cherry lips. There were actually two sharp fangs in her mouth. All of a sudden, Ning Fan recalled a terrifying term from the immortal emperor's memory. Corpse demon. In ancient times, there were the monster race, the god race, and the devil race. Among the demons, there was a race called the corpse demons. Corpse demons were formed from corpses after the death of immortals and gods. They had their own intelligence and could not inherit the mana of the owner of the body, but they could inherit the strong body of the owner. Occasionally, they could also inherit the memories of the owner. In essence, the corpse demon and the corpse's owner were two different people. The probability of a corpse demon turning into a corpse demon was extremely low even in ancient times. It was not easy for 1 out of 1,000 immortal gods to turn into a corpse demon. He didn't expect that the female corpse he obtained by chance would turn into a corpse demon. Would she wake up? Would she jump out like a zombie? Would she open her fangs and bite his neck when he stabbed her? These thoughts flashed across Ning Fan's mind for just a moment. At this moment, plucking the female corpse was the most important matter. Everything had to be done before the pain from the Jade Royal pill hit him. I'm sorry. Ning Fan sighed softly. Half a year ago, he was still a well-educated and reasonable young man. Half a year later, he encountered a few unexpected disasters in his life and fell into the evil Tao, becoming a devil that didn't even let the female corpse go. In the cultivation world where the strong were respected, all worldly rituals were not as real as strength. They were not as precious as life. But Ning Fan still persisted. Jihe, his master, 7 Apricot City, Ninggu, and perhaps more. These warmth and sunshine would allow him to not lose his true nature in the evil Tao. This was a corpse demon, but in order to survive, Ning Fan had no other choice. After an unknown period of time, the female corpse's eyebrows seemed to wrinkle. Her body seemed to be in pain, but no matter how painful it was, she couldn't cry out. However, a trace of heat was urging the female corpse to turn into a corpse. On her lotus arm, the cinnabar that had guarded her for millions of years had dissipated. The cinnabar that guarded her virginity for someone? She couldn't remember, she couldn't remember. Who was plucking her? Who opened her green coffin? Was it that butterfly? The female corpse's withered sea of consciousness suddenly trembled, and her corpse eyes became ruthless and blood-red. Chapter 41. Jihe was fine, but the female corpse was still conscious. Ning Fan couldn't help but be interested in the female corpse's origin. At the same time, he was also afraid of the female corpse's identity as a corpse devil. Little Jihe was so tired that she fell asleep. The female corpse's body was also cold red as if she was in deep sleep. A cold murderous aura seemed to be rising from the female corpse's body because of Ning Fan's urging. Ning Fan's eyes shrunk. If this female corpse awakened into a corpse devil, could he resist it? The female corpse was a dead person without magical power. After plucking, Ning Fan felt extremely comfortable and suppressed the pain. But his magical power didn't increase. It was not necessarily a fruitless harvest, but he seemed to have taken the corpse poison from the female corpse. He covered Jihe with a thin quilt and changed into a robe. Ning Fan waved his palm and a wisp of emerald green light coiled around his palm. It was a very beautiful light, but unfortunately, it could only be seen from afar and not touched. All of this was because this light was the corpse poison of the female corpse. If an ordinary harmonious spirit old monster came into contact with this corpse poison, they would be poisoned to death. It was a very strong poison. After obtaining this poison, Ning Fan's physique had a faint feeling of being immune to hundreds of poisons. And the second Jade Royal Dan's medicinal power had increased Ning Fan's physique to a terrifying level. He wouldn't be injured even if he were to face a low-rank high-rank magical treasure. The silver color in his bones deepened. If it completely turned into pure silver, he would be able to enter the body refining realm that gold core cultivators yearn for, the silver bone realm. Rumor has it that once a cultivator broke through the silver bone realm, his body would gain another ability. He would be able to transform into a Tenjiang giant and fight against an early nascent soul cultivator with his body alone. Other than the corpse poison in the silver bone, Ning Fan had another great harvest. The yin-yang locket was densely covered with 99 bloodlines. This meant that the first level of yin-yang transformation was finally completed. With the success of the first level, Ning Fan could finally control the yin-yang locket as he pleased. If the yin-yang locket didn't emit red light, it would be dual cultivation mode. Ning Fan could use the locket to improve his and Jihe's cultivation. If he used the first level ability, plucking, he could seize the cultivation of the female cauldron. Cauldron, it was time to refine the cauldron ring, or else there would be no place to store this female corpse. Ning Fan wiped the female corpse clean and changed her clothes. Then, he placed her back into the green jade coffin. He didn't know what material the coffin was made of. With Ning Fan's immortal emperor's eyesight, he could only see that it was extraordinary, but he couldn't tell what material it was made of. However, it seemed that the green jade coffin had the effect of restraining the corpse transformation. When the female corpse was placed back into the green coffin, the murderous aura was clearly suppressed. After closing the lid, Ning Fan looked at the green coffin with a complicated expression. In his heart, he secretly swore. He would never turn his back on the woman he loved. All the women he hated in his life had become his cauldron. As for himself, he would never fall in love with a human cauldron. He would never have any relationship with a woman who he didn't love or hate. However, what kind was the female corpse in front of him? Love her? Not really. Hate her? It was just his first encounter with the female corpse. How could he have any hatred towards her? However, he had met her hundreds of millions of years after her death and ruined her reputation. What should I do with the female corpse? This female corpse could not be kept by his side like Wuxia. Once she turned into a corpse demon, she would definitely be a peerless demon. He would be the first one to die if he violated her purity. Sealed in the coffin? After all, she had a relationship with him. Should he just seal her like this? Or should he resurrect her before she completely turned into a corpse demon? Forget it. I'll think about this after I forge the cauldron ring. Ning Fan patted his storage pouch and kept the green coffin inside. He lowered his body and kissed Jiha's forehead. Then, he turned around and pushed the door open. His eyes were as cold as ice. It was time to deal with the 4 intruders. Even though Peace City was still a rundown city, but now that 4 old monsters had openly come knocking on his door, he could not let them go so easily. Corpse poison, sword intent, silver bone body. Ning Fan's current combat strength was probably close to a peak harmonious spirit old monster. If he launched a sneak attack, he might even be able to injure an early gold core old monster. Kill 2 to establish my prestige. Capture 2 for my own use. In an instant, Ning Fan had decided the fate of the 4 old monsters in the sky. The green ribbon that tied his hair flickered with green light. Ning Fan had activated his invisibility ability. Ning Fan stepped on the icy light and leaped into the sky. His figure suddenly disappeared in the vast sky. In the sky above Ning's city, Lu Nanzi and the other 3 old men had been fighting against Nangong's group for a long time. All of their magical power had been consumed. Lu Nanzi, Chen, and Zhu were all peak harmonious spirit experts. In Yu country, they could be considered as first-class seniors, but when facing Nangong, Situ, and Yuchi, they couldn't gain the slightest advantage. Fortunately, the 3 old monsters were experienced in life and death situations. Their means were not bad. They didn't give much of an advantage to Nangong's group. They were only entangled by the 3 old monsters and couldn't escape Ning City. As for the gold core Nanyang Zi, he wasn't so calm. The order Wuxia received was not to let anyone escape. She faithfully and rigidly carried out Ning Fan's order. She waved her sleeves and blocked all of Nanyang Zi's escape routes. She could easily kill Nanyang Zi, but she didn't because Ning Fan didn't give the order. It was enough for her to prevent Nanyang Zi from escaping. When Nanyang Zi took out his magical treasure, she shattered it. Nanyang Zi took out an immortal cloud and wanted to escape, but she shattered it as well. In the end, Nanyang Zi simply stopped running and stopped moving. As a result, Wuxia leisurely stood in the sky and stopped attacking. Nanyang Zi's old face twitched. Was this holy and terrifying woman in front of him playing a trick on him? However, Nanyang Zi didn't dare to anger Wuxia. He deeply felt that it wouldn't take much effort for Wuxia to kill him. As long as I don't run, she won't kill me. Fine, I won't run anymore. In Ning City, there is a 4th Revolution Dan Master and a late Gold Core expert. Who exactly is the Lord of Ning City, young noble Ning? Or could it be that young noble Ning of Ning City doesn't dare to kill me? After all, I am still a guest elder of the Great Void Sect, a dignified righteous senior. Perhaps this young noble Ning doesn't want to offend the Great Void Sect. While Nanyang Zi was thinking, a starlight sword shadow suddenly appeared in the sky. The sword shadow went straight to Old Man Chen. Behind Old Man Chen, a young man in white robe and black cloak appeared out of thin air. The young man's face was covered with a vast cold cloth, blocking spirit sense. Nanyang Zi couldn't see his face clearly. Although the young man's cultivation was only at the intermediate harmonious spirit realm, he gave Nanyang Zi a sense of crisis. This young man obviously used an invisibility method to get close to Old Man Chen's back. Then, he slashed out a sword that contained a harmonious spirit sword intent. It caught Old Man Chen, who was fighting with Yuchi by surprise. All the hairs on his back stood up. His expression changed dramatically and he roared. "Which scoundrel dares to sneak an attack?" Almost without hesitation, Old Man Chen took out a Vajra talisman and stuck it on his chest. A burst of golden light rose up, trying to block the young man's sneak attack. At the same time, he leaped into the immortal cloud and retreated rapidly. However, the young man stepped on the icy light and turned into an icy rainbow. He held his sword and chased after Old Freak Chen. His speed was even faster than Old Freak Chen's. It was comparable to the speed of an early-stage gold core Old Freak. A sword turned into fire. The Vajra talisman that could withstand the full force attack of an intermediate harmonious spirit cultivator was destroyed by the young man's sword. However, the young man's sword aura didn't diminish at all. Starlight flashed. Old Man Chen's face was filled with horror. His waist was slashed into two halves. He died with everlasting regret. This young man was obviously an intermediate harmonious spirit cultivator, but his sword chi was so sharp. And the invisibility method of his sneak attack was even more strange and difficult to defend. What kind of invisibility method was that? Invisibility art? No. How could Old Man Chen's spirit sense not be able to defend against the invisibility art of an intermediate harmonious spirit cultivator? Greetings, young master. In the sky above Ning City, Nangong, Yuchi, and Situ stopped their attacks almost at the same time when they saw the young man kill a harmonious spirit cultivator. They stood respectfully with fiery eyes. Young master's strength has improved again. Killing a peak harmonious spirit cultivator with one sword, even if it was a sneak attack, it was still something to be proud of. Lu Nanzi, Old Man Zhu, and Nanyang Zi's expression changed dramatically when they heard everyone calling the young man young master. Could this young man be the Lord of Ning City, young Master Ning? A young man with an intermediate harmonious spirit cultivation, and his sword intent was enough to kill a peak harmonious spirit cultivator. He had 3 battle guards, a 4th Revolution Dan Master, and a late gold core woman. This person could not be a nobody in Yu country. Who was he? When did an old monster with the surname Ning appear in Yu country? Especially Nanyang Zi, his eyesight was the highest among the 3. He could tell that this young man was extraordinary with just a glance. The starlight sword looked extraordinary. What kind of sword was this? A high-grade spiritual treasure mask. This young Master Ning was really generous. A high-grade spiritual treasure was something that only a few gold core old devils could afford. The ice rainbow escape technique was comparable to a gold core cultivator, and the sword intent was comparable to a late harmonious spirit attack. And the invisibility item just now was probably some kind of profound gold spirit invisibility equipment. Profound gold spirit equipment was something that even a gold core old devil might not be able to afford. While Nanyang Zi was exclaiming in admiration, he suddenly saw Ning fans gaze at him with an immortal emperor-level murderous intent. In an instant, Nanyang Zi felt as if he had fallen into an ice cave. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.